are streaming. We are hanging out with the chatfishes, doing whatever we do with chatfish guys. Because it's what we do. It's our job. Hanging out with you
Play basketball
bros.
with them.
Yep, play basketball, shoot some hoops.
Put them in a balloon and play basketball.
Shoot some hoops with chatfish.
And they just as they bounce around.
This is the unfortunate happenstance of chatfish, honestly. You have to be punished, chat, for you have sinned against me. Like, whoa! Yep, that's just how it be. That's just how it be. So yeah, how's Chatfish doing? Is Chatfish having a good time being good little fishes today? I hope so. I hope so.
Now chatfish are up to no good.
They're up to absolutely no good. Is that
Yeah.
what Chat's
Is that right,
doing?
chatfish? Chatfish love mischief.
You're up to no good? Is that what you guys are up to? Being little
Yeah.
mischievous miscreants? Getting up into trouble before the bunch cast? Peculiar. Peculiar. Well, while the little fishes assemble, how's the chat's weekend going? I hope it's going well. I hope you're all having a good week. You've had a good week thus far. Because, we need people to have good weeks. We can't have everybody, being sad and miserable or whatever. Because you know why? That's just not good. Yeah, I'm talking about Trusty. That's that guy. Can't
Chatfish would get
be
along with my cat.
constantly, mopey, Trusty. That's, you gotta stop doing that. It's not good for you. It's not good for me. And quite frankly, you gotta knock it off. Just like, what?
Or I should say my cat would make a good chatfish. He kept knocking the medicine out of my hand when I was trying to give it to him.
He was like, no, I don't want this. And then he died. But yes, welcome, little Kaio Kitsune, Boulder, Janoberries, and Trusty, Pondazen, Russian Sundaws, Boulder, all the chatfishes of the bucket, even the English, I suppose. We can't leave out any chatfish. That would just be cruel and unusual
I mean,
and
we can leave Ian's out. He
unkind.
has nothing of value to offer the bucket anymore. He has nothing
Disaster
more to give.
after disaster, chatfish. Nightmare after unending fucking nightmare. That's what I'm going to give each and every single one of you, starting with Frank. He's like,
But
whoa.
more importantly, Kip, there's a Spooder Man on the screen.
There's a Spooder Man. My recommendeds are fucked because I'll click on whatever somebody sends me and then it
You just click on random
puts
shit.
random ass shit there. Sometimes it's like drama videos about some shit I don't give a damn about. Other times it's about some other crap I don't care about. Or it's
No,
like, credits or something. I don't fucking know. I don't care.
Ian List could be food. That's fair, Frank. That's fair. He could be food.
He could be. That he could be.
And who could forget Primic Pepe? He apparently got left out.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, well, that's what you get for not typing when I was reading the names off the list. You get left behind. Left behind in the bucket of sorrow and depression. To be forevermore consumed by vitriol and hatred. But yes, all chatfish are suffering, as they should.
Why are modded Leviathans hated?
I don't care. Now, more importantly, we're going to be looking at some upcoming games, and then we're going to be talking about today's subject of the stream. So let's get into the meat of it, now that we've let chat gather for about a moment. So, this upcoming game is a game called Open Waters. This is a trailer for it, so let's take a squeak peek at it. It's a giant anglerfish.
I mean, I hate to break it to you, but if you're in this situation, you're probably just gonna die.
Is this the gameplay? It's the game.
It kind of seems like it.
You just have to.
Stay away from big monster.
The boat tipped over. Oh my fucking god.
It's just big angler. That's a whole lot of woman. Well, he has a gun now?
I hope that's a harpoon gun.
Quite the upgrade from hammer he had earlier.
Okay, there's more than just. That's better. I was gonna say, if it's just like sailing around, that's gonna get very.
I mean, okay, there's random altar.
Eldritchy?
Eldritchy things, okay.
Okay, good. There's more to it than that. Because I was gonna say.
I want to point out though, like, okay, so the end of the game is you just die because there's no living in that scenario.
Yeah, it's kind of like
you get rescued.
there's just a little boat, rinky-dinky boat.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the fucking ocean with like that, and then you find like, you know, a what are those called? Oil something?
Oh, that was funny. But yeah.
Like, yeah.
At least there's more to the game, because I was like, okay, looks kind of like an interesting scenario. Like, it's a horror game set on an ocean. You got a small boat. You got to escape a monster. Okay. And then it's just an upscaled anglerfish is the monster. It's like, all right.
That's a huge bitch, I believe.
That's a big bitch, yeah. Big bitch.
You know what a male anglerfish is? Looks like?
What?
They're small.
They're sad.
Their entire purpose is to find the female, attach the female, and then the rest of the body atrophies, and all that lives is their gonads. It just supplies sperm to the female.
It's like I will constantly coom, and I will become coom. I will just.
Yeah.
That's kind of dumb. As a species, that's dumb.
The males are quite literally just mobile sperm sacs, and then they attach to a female, and that is the end of their life.
Like, ugh. Fucking gone. Oh my god. Oh, some fishes have the dumbest fucking like things about them. Just become a ball sack.
So some anglerfish can have multiple ball sacks. That woman has 6 ball sacks attached to her.
It's dumb. I hate anglerfish. I think I genuinely hate anglerfish now, guys.
Remember, they live deep, where like it's pitch black, and they're one of the only light. They're one of the few light sources down there, so they can see their pretty face.
Their pretty fucking face. Anglerfish are kind of dumb. It's kind of like when Chatfish attaches to Aerith's head and supply her brain cells. Supply her brains.
Welcome to the anglerfish stream.
Yeah. Well, all in all, it's an interesting looking concept for a game, but we're gonna have to wait and see.
It could be cute, but I feel like based on what we saw there, it's
like
gonna be there's no replayability.
Yeah, that's not to say that can be a bad thing, but it's like yeah.
But what we saw there makes me think it wouldn't. There's not.
Also, Subnautica has spoiled me when it comes to aquatic games. Like that's become my new standard for games. Welcome to the stream, Hands.
It's Handsman Brown.
His name is Handsman Brown, and he is proud to be back in Handsman Town.
Mr. Now, yes.
With whole Handsman family.
And more importantly, Handsman hatred.
Handsman hatred. Iconic, unforgettable Hands vitriol. Alright, next up we have is another interesting looking game. Carlos had also sent this to me as well.
I posted the store page for it if you want instead.
Well, we're gonna look at the video for it, and then we'll look at the store page. How about that, chunky boy?
I didn't even look at the links I posted.
So this is... No, I have yet to. I've already got like a bunch of stuff open. It's easier to organize. So, real quickly, this is basically a upcoming real-time strategy game. It's a roguelite that's basically set up in such a way that it's in a tabletop tavern, is what it's called. And the background is like low poly and stuff like that, and there's people around the tavern, but it's like, you know, board game kind of. But instead of it being turn-based, it's real time, and the combat is very, 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 very heavily influenced by Total War. Now,
I was going to say, I'm looking at this UI, and this is very Total War.
I will say, in regards to the art, it is using that asset pack that was just everywhere for a few years, but it doesn't seem like it's just an asset flip like a lot of those were.
Yeah, they might be doing the low poly thing maybe to help with.
It's the asset pack.
Oh, it is just the asset
I
pack?
would guess they. Yes, this is just the asset pack, and they might have built on it a little bit, but the majority of it, I've seen some of these models before.
Damn.
But with that being said, it could also be that they just don't have a 3D modeler because it's an indie game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it might be a solo dev. I
If
don't
they're
really know the
using an
story.
asset pack, it's
Odds
either
are.
I mean,
one,
asset
an
packs
asset
exist
flip,
for a
which is I
reason.
doubt. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that the weakest aspect of this, when I first looked at it, was its art style. Feels incredibly sterile and bland. But
That's because it's the asset
yeah,
pack.
it's an asset pack, and it's the
It does have
asset flip
it
pack.
does have a publisher. It looks like it has 2 publishers, both of which look like they're just small indie team publishers.
Let's take a look.
How can I help you?
The green duh.
Dinos.
Dinosaurs.
Did you notice that gives the archers? They don't have to be facing forward to shoot.
Perhaps zooming in wasn't the best idea.
Yeah, as the models just jump up and down.
I mean, that little art piece isn't too bad.
That looks probably, I don't know, was that commissioned? Big thinkies. Big thinkies. But yeah.
So I tried the demo of this game a while ago. The combat for it is pretty basic. It is ultimately just move forward and attack. So there wasn't a whole lot of depth to the battlefields. It was more about army composition and positioning in the beginning.
Yeah. The one issue I see with this game suffering from is that it is trying to like ape on the Total War style of game, but the issue is that the question remains, can they actually pull that off? Like, will you actually be able to make that feel good? Because even Creative Assembly has struggled to make that feel good. And
Its other problem is it's also trying to be a roguelite or roguelite. I think
well, it
it's
means they
roguelite,
can focus
actually.
more on the battles, right? But the one thing I will say is, like, when you look at it, like, it's how do I put it? It's not very
It looks like someone had, let's
original.
take this idea from this game and swap
That's
it
not to say the
together with
game
this
is
idea.
bad, right? But like, yeah, look at these like things, like even the card on the left where it tells all the stats and leadership and stuff like that.
It's very much Total War.
It's just like that's just straight up Total War. Now, granted, like how else would you present this information, right? But like the UI, the user interface, like the layout, the map, the speed, like the center UI element, like it is just Total War. And I don't know. Like I don't know, honestly. A part of me thinks that this might be one of those games where like it's entirely down to its execution, but because you're aping on Total War's like aesthetic and style, in terms of like its presentation down to its user interface, then we have to ask the question, because the UI is, it's, how do I put this in a polite way? It's basically ripped off. is what the politest thing I can say. This is a ripoff of Total War.
The politest thing you could say is heavily inspired by.
Heavily inspired would be disingenuous though. Like, look at this. Even like it is, it's
Down to
literally the
displaying like where the like how many models are in
the
the
buttons,
health
the
bar,
locations.
like
Yeah.
we have a bonus to like I would say melee attack. Right, it shows it the exact same way Total War would show it.
Now,
Yeah.
the one thing I will say I do like about this is it is another game trying to make a, at least combat-wise, similar thing to Total War, which could inevitably lead to actual competition to Total War down the line.
Potentially.
The style of game starts to become more popular, and we actually see more
But
games try to make it.
the issue is that in order to be like a competitor, you actually have to be in the same
You have
sort
to
of
actually
field.
compete.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like,
I don't see this trying to compete with them.
I don't see this being able to, at least right now, anyways. Especially because they're using an asset pack. It's one of those things where it's like, it's just, how do I put it? I want them to try, and I hope they're successful, but my optimism is low. Does that make sense? Like, incredibly low.
It also
Because,
doesn't have a price yet.
yeah, I mean, they got to work on it, and so long as they listen to feedback and critique and stuff, they might actually do it. But it's like, there comes a point in which I look at a game and I'm like, oh my god, this is just Total War, and it's like, if you
I also
can't,
wasn't necessarily saying this game
you
would
can't compete if you're just going to copy, because there are the difference between trendsetters and trend followers, and this is just sort of following the Total War Warhammer Fantasy trend without really building anything new on top of that, from what I can tell, besides it just being a roguelite. Which that in of itself could be interesting, a twist on the overall thing. It's not just doing the campaign map, but again, the campaign map, to be blunt, was actually the greatest strength of Total War, is that the battles are tied to a metagame. And this game is doing the same thing, where it's tying to a metagame, but instead of the metagame being a
It's a
campaign
different
map,
type of metagame.
it's a roguelite map where you have a series of choices, which paths you take, what risks you gamble, and it's basically risk management. It could be a fun game, but I don't think this game is going to stand out as a competition to Total War. And I think it's also, a part of me wants to say that it would be unfair to compare it to Total War, but it's hard not to when the user interface is like, and the entire like visual design of like how it's laid out is almost identical. Also, like, next time to talk about criticisms. So the tabletop they have here is relatively small. And so, as a huge real-time strategy fan and stuff like that, the battles are going to be lightning fast, and they're going to be about speed and getting them like going as quickly as possible. Is kind of the vibe here. Probably like 5 to 6 minutes based on the footage I've seen. I'm not sure because I haven't played it, but
Well, yes, it would be.
the issue is that that's part of the problem with modern Total War. So it's also aping on that. The map is also like, there is unique things, like there's sometimes different paths. This picture isn't doing it particularly good justice. That one has a river on it with some like little bits of things to maneuver over, and so there's a little bit more here strategically. But the fundamental issue is still that there isn't a lot of maneuver room, so it's going to suffer from the problem modern Total War suffer from, where there's no maneuverability, and that honestly really sucks. It doesn't seem like there is any sort of elevation or elevation mechanics in this game, as it all appears to be flat, because Medieval 2 had hills, and like there was like elevation. High units on hills could shoot further and could shoot over allied units, and it's one of those things where, that was really interesting. But yeah, there's none of that here.
Another thing this game, at least the demo and from the video, is focusing on is massive variety of the units. So like, it basically Warhammer.
Yeah. I'm just
But
not.
what I was saying about competition, I wasn't referring to this specific game, just that games that actually have the Total War style of combat, we might end up seeing a bit more of those, and then eventually we might
Potentially.
see competition.
Yeah. The one thing here, like, for turnoffs for me is the lack of an art style. But again, when you're indie, do you have the luxury to spend like thousands of dollars on art? And in a lot of cases, for a lot of people, the answer might be no. Because I'll tell you right now, it ain't easy as an indie with, a tight ass budget with peanuts to your name. There isn't a lot of wiggle room. You you literally live paycheck to paycheck. So that's not really
Now,
a issue for him. But again, I'm skeptical about this game. We'll have to keep an eye out. It does look there is variation to the maps and stuff, but again, only time's gonna tell.
now it does have 2 publishers. Also, for gifts and memberships as Hand's Choice and Cookie.
Thank you for the donation. I'll also give the membership at the beginning of the stream. Before the stream started, we appreciate that. Very generous. Thank you for the support.
Neither have hit the max tier bounty.
Yep, that's unfortunate.
But yeah, I glanced at the publishers the game has. The one publisher, this is the first thing they've ever published. So,
Frostbloom and Gamiro Games. Never heard of these fellows. But yeah, hopefully this turns out to be good. I mean, it does. I do think it's a solo dev, though. The developer being
think so, especially
abbreviated
with
as
the
TJ is
Yeah.
probably his initials, if I had to wager a guess, or
Probably.
his nickname. Hopefully he can deliver something here. And you
And
know what? Like,
credit
solo
where it's
dev
due.
is a nightmare on its own, so,
They offer a demo right up front.
Yeah, true. There is a demo currently available. Better than most games. Most games don't even do that. But yeah, hopefully this turns out good. It does seem to be like a passion project. So I get why like the leaning on the UI from Total War, because they figured it out. Like, why reinvent the wheel? But like I would say that the Total War UI is kind of bad, but it has its ups and
Well,
its downs.
One of the upsides being people will be able to hop in and immediately understand the game. If
It'll
they
be
play Total
easier
War.
to grasp, yes. But yeah.
Right, good choice. Thank you.
Either way, let's move on to the next title. But yeah, that's an indie title. If you want to check it out, be sure to give it a look. Next up we have is another upcoming little title called The Caribou Trail, which is a game set in World War I, and it's less about like shooting and fighting and killing, and it's more kind of about like a story of survival and like camaraderie between friends and stuff like that. And if you don't know anything about like the Caribou Trail, it's basically set in, I believe, Gallipoli, the Gallipoli campaign. So I'll play a trailer so you can see, chat.
Home before the leaves fall, they said. In August of last year.
Please. Please. They never told us what Gallipoli looks like.
Rocky hills, rocky beaches, like home, with less rain and more Turks.
Keep moving, everyone! Come on, come on! Gordo!
So yeah, there it is. Now, one thing I immediately noticed when looking at this was I thought that
I saw Walking Simulator.
Yep. But I mean, there's gonna be some choices. It's gonna be more about the story of the
I will
event,
say
I think.
this. For the setting of a game, it is not one that's used that often.
Yeah, it's not. It could be interesting. My only sort of like critique really is that I think its art style is a bit like it's cartoonish in such a way that it makes me go like, I don't really take it as.
I have a comparison that it kind of looks like for me, but it doesn't look quite.
I
the
seen
same, so I'm
chat
not
call it
going
Sea of Thieves, and I'm like, oh my god. And I was thinking Sims the entire time.
Why are
But yeah, let's see the reveal trailer as well. Let's also give you more have an angle with the game.
Here's where we was sent.
No, but why here? On this rock? Watch out!
Why are you tormenting me?
Beautiful. She's like, what? But yeah, it's an interesting concept for a game, I'll say that much. But beyond that, it's really going to be down to its story, honestly. Have you ever heard of a game called Valiant Hearts a long time ago? Which was an interesting little World War I game that was very
I
story-centric.
remember hearing about that one, yeah.
It was pretty cool. The art style really helped carry it, too. And so that's why it's going to be down for the story and the narrative to really carry this. So they're going to have to really lean heavy on that. But yeah. Is it an analogy for depression? I think it's an analogy for war is hell. Which is actually pretty true. I mean...
Especially for World War I.
Yeah. Especially if you're in the campaign that is the, the Gallipoli campaign, which was an absolute unmitigated disaster.
One of the worst clusterfucks
Hold on.
probably ever.
I think they even landed in the wrong
Counterpoint.
area, if I remember right.
Counterpoint. If World War One was such hell, why'd we have a second one?
True. Maybe because we thought
Clearly
the sequel would
people
be
liked
better.
it.
Double the explosions, double the kill count. Oh my god. But yeah.
Now with more tanks.
To be fair, when World War I was happening, it wasn't called World War I, it was called the Great War.
Yeah, because they wouldn't call it World War One. That'd be so stupid.
Which is one of those fun trivia things. If you see a movie set in World War I and they call it World War I, they done fucked up.
I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
I've seen it a few times. It's not often, but you do see it occasionally with really shitty low budget films from that era.
So next,
I like the time travel that goes back in time.
Next up,
So is
we
World War
have
One happened one yet?
we're watching a game called Kingfish. Now, Kingfish, this game actually caught my interest because it's what we call an action strategy, which, if you know anything about action strategy, is a hybridization of real-time strategy usually and action-based gameplay. And it could be interesting. But basically one player takes on the role of the builder for the city builder, and the other player takes on the role of the guy going around and doing all the adventuring and stuff.
One person's the fish, the other's the king.
Yeah. Kingfish.
Before I found you, the sky fell. I remember. They came from the black mist to claim our kingdom. That night, I saw my father for the last time. The legend he told me, it's real. You are real. An ancient power to help us defeat the darkness. Rise, O Leviathan. I'll be your steel. You'll be my shield. We'll build our new home together. Find the heart of the black mist together.
Damn, its head is like half its body.
Yeah.
That means you know it's smart.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool and novel concept. Very similar to a game like Savage, if you've ever heard of it, where one player plays as the RTS. the players had to gather resources for the RTS player, which was a
Alright.
very interesting concept.
I did post the link to the store page as well
Watch
for
this.
Kingfish.
Just a city building.
So, proper indie project, I believe.
Is this one actually? The other ones all had publishers. Oh yeah, this is a true
This-
indie. Yep, it actually is. A very interesting concept.
So, Chatfish, getting on the Kingfish thumbnail now.
Yeah, we'll probably definitely try this one. I think this one's definitely going to be a lot more.
So, they have produced
Interesting.
one other game, by the way, Fire Vault.
Let's take a sneak peek.
Well, a demo of it, at the very least, so it's not out yet.
They know. Oh, they're producing 2 games at the same time, and okay.
Also a co-op game, kinda.
They make friend slop. It's like, oh, it reminds me of games from this era where you played as like little toys. Back in the 2000s, that was pretty common.
That was the golden era. I want to hear no slander.
It was always cool because it felt like the scale always made it interesting.
Though it also meant
Yeah.
you could have fun concepts for levels.
It's like 2 kids playing with toys and imagining them like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Kids would do that. I know which player
yeah,
Gibbs
kids would
was.
do that. We also, so Kibbs, would you be would you be a king or a fish?
A chatfish is a wise.
Given
fish.
his girth, he would have to be the fish.
We will build a kingdom on his body, Chatfish.
So this game's not even done.
Nope, it has a demo and that's it.
Oh, you're here! Ha! You got my message.
It looks like it's pretty polished.
Jeopardy is crashing. This vexing little failure means my conscience
I'm gonna look
is
into the
broken
dev
by
a bit
the
more.
house bread. See those neuro helmets? They don't look super safe, I know, but you must trust me. Put the helmets on now. We have to move.
I like they just have spark plugs on.
They did. God knows what those things do.
Nothing. They're just there for aesthetics.
Ah. Okay.
It looks interesting.
Let me deep dive into this developer.
You can't deep dive. They're dead now. It's like, whoa. My one curiosity, though, is why they're developing 2 games at the same time. Seems a bit risky.
They're not working on 2 games at the same time. They're working on 3.
Uh-huh.
What?
And you're sure they're indie.
I mean, they have to be. They're a publisher.
No,
Well,
no,
let me
no,
look up. Let me
What-
look up
what
the
I
other
mean,
one.
What I mean is,
That's
The-
weird.
the entity might be like you have no publisher, but I wonder if they actually
Okay,
have people
so the
from-
third game has a publisher.
Okay.
I'll post it in
How are
the
they?
stream room.
How big is their team that they can develop 3 games?
I'm still looking that
simultaneously?
up. Here's the third thing they're making.
I'm actually baffled by this. Like,
You know what's also weird? So far, all of the games that they've been doing have been like vastly different from each other as well.
So I'm actually finding they have an official website. I find there's very little info there about it besides that they're their about us literally just is indie team focused on cooperative game experience that are easy to pick up and meant to be played together. Their Steam group though is the only thing that gives a bit more about them. It says it's a game development studio founded by industry veterans behind Crysis, Far Cry, Warface, and World of Tanks.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. Where it's like the group may be technically indie, but it looks like it's
They have
They have a
AAA
lot of
connections.
experience.
Sorry, bro. Bastard. This means war.
Don't launch me, bro.
Enjoy outer space, bro.
damn, into the grinder.
Damn, he's dead.
Yeah, it does seem like the general theme of the games they want to produce is all basically
Co-op.
cooperative based. Which
which is
with
perfectly
you.
fine.
I will
actually
say,
have no problem.
their co-op games are actually relatively all interesting concepts. That's what actually astonishes me.
No, it's probably these are ideas that they might have been kicking around at the places they used to work, and they just never got the approval, so they're just like, fuck it, let's just do it ourselves.
But yeah, this is the one that has a publisher, which
Yeah, the
looks like
budget
this
feels
one.
bigger.
Yes.
Mission accomplished. Now the real fun begins. Oh, come on.
That could be interesting, actually. And for some reason, this gives me uncanny vibes of like games from like the 2000s, though. Very nostalgic with
No,
the
they
design
did
choices.
say like industry veterans, so they might actually just be people that
But
work
that's
around.
that's only on their
Yeah, because
Steam
the three
group
games they're working on
page.
is Salvation, Denied, Kingfish, and Wheelmates, and all three
If you go to their
titles are interesting.
if you go to their Steam page, that like on the store for them, there's no info. It doesn't even link to their website. So they just recently formed. It seems like officially.
Yeah, because these games were all announced. Like the demo for Wheelmates came out May 6th, 2026. The two other games that are in development have yet to be announced. So basically, all right, based on the information we know about this, what it's probably going to be is that they're outsourcing some sort of the resources. It's probably a bunch of guys, maybe a group of friends in the industry who have built up capital and have basically launched their own independent venture into starting their own game making, not just studio, but maybe Firebolt will become a publisher. It's not
Maybe down the
truly an
line.
indie, because they're pulling on AAA resources from the sounds of it, but this is all
And
theoretical.
From what it seems like, it's they're industry veterans who have pulled together to make basically things that they've wanted to do for a while. Is what it seems
But
like to
what
me.
it does actually hearken to is our theory about the industry fatigue inevitably leading to a second renaissance in the form of not just the indie.
Basically people that like wanted to try shit, but it kept getting told no, and they eventually it's like, well, screw it, we'll do it ourselves.
Yes, because of the indie renaissance that occurred several years ago, and that we've been basically just riding on for like almost a decade now, and it gets stronger and stronger. What you're starting to see is AAA developers are now eventually getting fed up with the industry of the corporate bullshit, and then they decide to leave, and then they start their own indie ventures. We've seen this time and time again. Some projects go well, some projects not so well, but this is a good trend. This is actually a good thing. Mostly due to the fact that this could be the beginning of a new studio that's doing something refreshing. It seems like they're going to focus on, again, sort of 2-player, 4-player, sort of co-op based games. They're going to make co-op slop, which honestly is my favorite type of slop, actually. Favorite type of slop. Co-op slop
So I
is
saw
always
a
fun.
diagram of there's friend slop and friend like. Friend slop is literally just the entire gameplay is you're playing with friends. The gameplay itself is secondary. Friend like is you playing with friends and there's actually mechanics and there's actually goals to it. It's the friends just are additive.
Yes.
None of
Left
these
4 Dead.
games necessarily
Fri-
look like slop. It's not just the entire point is you're playing with friends. There's actually meat to the game itself.
But these games also look like they can't be played without friends.
Yes, but the entire point of the game isn't that you're playing with a friend. It's
Because, like, for
the
example,
friend enhances
Dune
it.
Awakening or Subnautica can be played solo entirely. You do not even need to play them with people. These games do require a partner to play, which
I'm
will
just saying, I don't think
eliminate
the
some
friends,
parts.
the slop
I know, but
aspect of friend slop applies.
regardless, it's the principle is the same. Like, the idea is that you need a friend to play these games, from the
Yeah.
looks of it, which means that will alienate some people who are like, because like the one problem with co-op centric games is that a co-op centric game means that you need to have another person to experience it to begin with. And if you do not have somebody else, this game cannot be experienced in single player unless there's something that talks about how they intend to have a single player mode, or if they intend to
The
create
only
bots.
one of their games that looks like it could be single player is Salvation Denied.
Potentially.
The RC thing looked like it had puzzles that requires co-op. The Kingfish is literally one person is controlling like the stuff on the ground and the other person's playing. It's like so that like it requires two people.
Yeah.
Whereas the Salvation Design looks like constructing things, but like you do it with your friends. But conceivably you might be able to do it solo.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. So on to the next one. Now we have a thing about Hell Let Loose Vietnam, which is slated for its launch date of June 18th. Lots of ads. Lots of ads. So if you're familiar with Hell Let Loose, they're making a Vietnam game, which is interesting because it's an era that it gets video games. Vietnam does get video games, but it rarely gets good games. It's the problem.
Most of them are just War or America bad, the game.
Or they're just not very interesting, or they're just bad in general. So let's see.
Peggy 18.
217? It's the Worms people. I didn't know they had kids play this for them.
You got Chukka Chukkas.
It looks like you can play on both sides, them seeing NATO and like
NATO?
AK, or,
Well, Hell Let Loose is a just multiplayer.
I was more saying NATO because in my head it's just like like allied weapons. That's why I said NATO.
American
But
guns.
yeah, basically U.S. and Russian weapons. M16 AKs, that stuff.
And yes, they wouldn't have those iconic songs probably in Night Motorcyclist because
Money.
copyrights. And they're not mixtape. They own a small indie team that can afford perpetual licenses.
Millions of
Mixtape
dollars.
is not an indie. Like, see, the issue, we're entering a weird state in which indie is no longer indie anymore. So,
It's basically something people just swap on.
Real quickly. So, when it comes to what is a true indie? A true indie is usually somebody who's making a game who isn't pulling on AAA like resources because he doesn't have friends and connections and stuff like that. The issue is that a lot of things that are tagged as indie today are not actually true indie. They are pulling on AAA resources. A great example would be Expedition 33. Expedition 33 is the definition of not an indie. It isn't
They also had a
independent.
publisher.
Yeah.
Oh,
Again, we're not even saying anything about the quality of Expedition 33. It is not an indie game.
Yeah, it's not an indie. And but the issue is people constantly have been associating the word indie with games that aren't indie. And the reason why that's a big deal is because, well, AAA is also trying to do that, where they're trying to be like, well, here's this indie published game we did. Indie published? Excuse me? Like, what? Yay, shut the fuck up.
Indie literally means independent.
Means you...
If you have a publisher, it's not an indie game.
The thing is, you know what they're trying to do. What they're basically...
They're abusing the tag system.
Yeah, they're trying to massage the definition to say, oh no, this wasn't the main team. This is like a little independent team inside the studio. That's how they're trying to worm it.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't have an issue with games being made that have publishers. Never have I. But what I do have an issue with is disingenuous nature of trying to stretch the definition by, being like, like that.
3 degrees of separation. It's like, yeah, it's basically an indie though.
And Dragonclaw says, kids, by definition, anyone who uses Unreal, etc. game engine is also not an indie. No, wrong. That is not entirely.
That's conflating two separate things.
Yes, that is conflating two separate things. That'd be the equivalent of saying you're using Unity.
But
right?
by that logic, the fact that you did not write your own code, set up your own...
So when we're talking about pulling on AAA assets, what are we talking about? Well, let's say you worked on EA and you're pulling on AAA assets because you have literally assets in the industry. Like you are pulling assets in the industry. You're not licensing or paying to use another thing, or forking over a portion of your profits to Unity to use a thing, because that is not quite the same thing at all. That's just a failure to understand how this actually functions. But yeah. Either way. Interesting. Moving on to the next subject, though. I'm not sure if Hell Let Loose is necessarily a game for me, but I know that some chatfishes like it, so I figured I'd spotlight it.
So
and
Hell
the
Let
fact that
Loose
they're actually
was
doing
really good.
Vietnam is kind of cool, because Vietnam is one of those areas where it's very asymmetrical, which, before you say anything, Champa, the issue with that is that, for example, the Viet Cong did not really have the same access to the assets that everybody else had at all.
There's a reason like 50 dudes were able to hold off like a few hundred.
Yeah, so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be 50v50 like battles, right? So like, how is that going to feel? Like, are they going to? I mean, you're going to be fighting against the North Vietnamese army, so you're not going to be fighting against the Viet Cong. Okay, because let's say if you make the VC playable, the VC have like even less equipment because if you don't know anything about the Vietnam War, there's the NVA, which is the North Vietnamese army, which had actual more
The proper
equipment
army.
that was basically lend lease to them by the Soviet Union, more or less, and like China and stuff like that to fight the United States of America. And then you have like I think it was mostly Russia, actually, not the Chinese. I don't think the Chinese like Vietnam, if I remember right. But yeah, so
Yeah, it was mostly the Russians, if I remember right.
then you have the VC, and the VC are like the rebel groups that are in the south, and also that are like bleeding over into like Laos and
Like
Cambodia.
the more militia-esque groups.
Yes, and they're fighting like a more ragtag guerrilla style campaign against American and South Vietnamese troops. Not to mention, don't forget that the Australians were there as well. The Australians, more than the French
So-
were. Ooh.
Yeah, that's right, France.
So for my 2 cents here, so Hell Let Loose was really good and actually was a bit asymmetrical when the Germans had some
Germans.
scary tanks, and like the US would have a bit more, but like they started to go they started trying to bring in this people from Squad,
Ah, okay.
and they had a bunch of, and so they started basically standardizing both factions, and now it's just kind of a coat of paint
So
for the
like
most part. It felt like
the infantry for both sides would be roughly equivalent, that type of
they
thing.
like, initially the Germans had better anti-tank, and last time I played it, they were the same as the US's in damage output, and the tanks were just heavy, medium, or light tank.
So they might just try to balance it because they're going to kind of have to because the NVA's equipment in some cases was worse than the Americans, and there was occasionally some things depending on what stage of the war where it was the opposite. But yeah, because the Vietnam War actually started in like 1968 for the Americans' entry. I mean, technically the French were involved in the 1950s, and the fighting had been going on for like a whole decade, before we even got involved properly. And then like 1960s to the 1970s, and then it ended. But yeah. Let's read this. 'Cause I'm actually curious to see what they say, expansion on the information about the game. Because the thing is, the game, I will say real quickly, shows off a couple of things that I think are really interesting. It shows off the PT stuff for river patrols, and that is really cool because this is something that a lot of people don't know about, but the PT like patrols and stuff like that and the battles that the PT boats would have were insane if you know anything about the Vietnam War.
There's a reason the US now has special military groups that are specifically all about river warfare.
Yeah, because like the PT patrols, like it was bloody as fuck. And then not to mention the air cav of having like the Hueys and stuff involved and like that. Like it's a really interesting period, and I really am interested to see them
So
shush game.
my
cover
point
this.
being, if the Hell Let Loose Vietnam is more how Hell Let Loose was initially before I think they also got acquired. Like it just went through hell near the end. But if it's more
Published
similar
by
to the way it
Team
was originally,
17.
yeah, they originally didn't have a publisher, and then once they did, they started changing the game a lot. My point being, if it's closer to how Hell Let Loose was originally, where it actually was asymmetrical and was focusing on the more historical aspects of it, while keeping it still balanced to an extent, but like each side felt really distinct. They managed to do that. I think this will actually be really good. But if it's more like modern Hell Let Loose, it'll be good, but like it's not gonna really stand out. It's just gonna be a skin basically.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, unleash hell in the jungle. So let's see. Enter an explosive combat, Vietnam War, blah, blah, blah. Drive patrol boats, build tunnels. So they imply that you can actually build tunnels, which is interesting here. Which tunnel another fucking horrible thing about that war is tunnel rats. If you're familiar with
Yes,
the idea,
go in there with the fucking 1911. Don't die.
M1911 and a fucking flashlight. Good luck. You need to clear
If
the
they were
tunnel.
lucky, if they were lucky, a frag grenade.
Yeah, that was fucking awful because they had to clear out the VC out of tunnels and shit. So like, oh my god, like the Vietnam War was truly a spectacularly fucked up war because, for example, we didn't fight it like a war. It was on paper, it was a police action, which meant that, what did that mean for the war? Well, it meant that there was things we couldn't do. Like we couldn't bomb like certain things, we couldn't do certain things, and
A
like
lot of factories we just couldn't touch, even though we knew that they were building munitions there.
we couldn't
It's like if there
do
was a shred of a doubt, we
or
couldn't
launch
do
a
it.
proper attack. Like we couldn't because like there was like too much politics and stuff, and people were worried that China would get involved, blah blah. And the issue is that because we weren't fighting the war like a war, there was boundaries where we couldn't go and things we couldn't do, and because of that, it wasn't able to be won. Had it been fought like a traditional war, the Vietnam War would have been over in pretty much a heartbeat, because we could have just literally won it. For example, before the Peace Conference of Paris was actually signed, where we basically agreed to keep it sort of like a deal between North and South, which they lied, by the way. The fun fact is the NVA was on the verge of total collapse and about to surrender. So it's one of those cases where they actually managed to win because they managed to just wait until the American popular vote on it, basically to the point where it was too unpopular of a war to continue. And how they managed to do this was they basically infiltrated our entertainment industry and basically made it so that they pivoted the entire industry to be negative by basically doing a entire like psychological warfare on the American populace. It's disturbing because it actually worked. And it managed to make the people basically break their will on it. So yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff with the Vietnam War. And what makes it so fascinating is how psychological it was. The first televised war and the first war where America truly was kind of like more or less humiliated because they shouldn't have lost it by no right. But because of all the meddling, because of the foreign interference, because of the politics, and because of the the chat's pointing out the hippies, yeah, pretty much because of the psychological effect they did on people where they were degenerating them, and that's what they were doing. It actually worked because it was part of their playbook. And it's funny because the Soviet Union, following their collapse, actually admitted that they did all these things too. But it was like it was one of those.
The term was demoralizing. Yeah.
Yep, and it's incredible because of how much effect it actually worked on. Because if you look at the beginning of the Vietnam War, because I've actually studied it a little bit, not like a lot. What's interesting is the popularity behind supporting our troops and stuff was very high, and then by the late stages, you had our own troops being harassed, attacked, pushed into suicide by the populace, because it was that anti them. Like Hollywood was absolutely red. The entire theory about red Hollywood was true, as we know now, and like it was all. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was a very clever war that was waged by the communists because they managed to effectively win it. Not because they were competent, not because their weapons were better, not because their troops were better, but they won it psychologically through demoralization tactics. And that is the importance of like information. That's the importance of propaganda. That's why propaganda is so important, because of propaganda is what drives like the war at home. And that's why it's important that propaganda needs to be strong. But yeah, a very, very interesting, very, very interesting stuff in general around that period. Granted, that's all long and gone now. We haven't seen anything quite like that in today's climate. But yeah, just crazy stuff. Crazy. That's why I'm so interested in this game, actually. Let's see. They say, own the battle, take the battle to the enemy across 6 large-scale maps that authentically recreate real-world locations and dramatic terrain. Play as either the North Vietnamese Army or the U.S. Armed Forces, and choose from one of 17 specialized roles within a 50-strong team made up of multiple squads. Join or lead infantry, recon, armor, mortar squads, and helicopter units, using communication and teamwork with your fellow players to identify objectives and ruthless exploits your opponent's weaknesses. Emergent gameplay features Bring intensity and realism to the conflict as players tackle each battle with authentic weapons, orders, and tactics. Follow the chain of command and work together as a team to meet your objectives to achieve victory. Again, interesting. That is interesting. Like, I'm curious to see how that's going to work out, because like 50v50 is really interesting. But it's one of those things where I'm very curious to see how that functions in principle. Deploy your forces. In the heat and fury of the Vietnam War, blah, blah, blah. Taking rivers.
Let me be right back.
Co-combatants. What? Co-combatants away from active fire. Oh, yeah, you can drag wounded. That's a cool mechanic. I actually really
Yeah,
like
you
that.
saw it when that guy was getting dragged and he was shooting his 1911.
That is actually cool. That is cool. That encourages good team play, and I like that quite a bit.
I would say it enables good team play. I wouldn't say it encourages it.
Well, it encourages it in the sense that people will likely
I've seen
drag
the
people.
modern Battlefield audience.
Yeah, but we're not playing modern Battlefield. Usually these games tend to have better communities, I guess. Usually. The more dedicated. There's Vietnam, multiple gameplay modes, and things 50v50, multiplayer battles, tug of war, confrontation. Largely new game modes, mix up the parameters. Okay, I mean, it's interesting. It's going to start off with 6 big maps. So it's not the biggest strength, but these maps usually are kind of big and chunky. So there's a lot of variation
Usually
to them.
each of these maps have multiple areas, so it's not going to be as monotonous, probably.
Welcome to stream, Little Sandman. Let's see. Let's look at the features. All right, so updated interface for end user experience, revamped tutorial, and player onboarding. That's good. You always want to make sure your tutorials are strong in these games because that way you can get into the game and figure out how to play. Enhanced player movement improves in battle functionality. I don't know what that means. Build tunnels as the NVA and deploy your forces in stealth to ambush the U.S. Armed Forces. So I assume that means tunnels can be used to create spawn points and locations to attack the United States of America, which means it's really interesting that they are going to have that dynamic, that the NBA has access to that mechanic, because it'll help offset the fact that the Americans should be able to rule the skies. Yes, the NBA did have their own air force and stuff. There were air battles that did occur, but generally the Americans had more or less air supremacy because they could usually be able to beat them. Usually, but there was still, it was the early jet days, things weren't absolutely perfect, and the enemy did have stuff to throw at us. But yeah, interesting stuff. Let's see. Multiple vehicles, including helicopters and patrol boats. I don't see jet fighters, so probably no jets or air-based combat like that. Mortar squad, observers, support gunner, helicopter, U.S. only.
That's right, because around
logistics
this
officer,
time,
pilot.
air cav was starting to become a concept.
Yes. The ability to basically try to deploy mass groups of infantry by just airlifting them into certain positions. Armor tank commander, crewman, recon spotter. So yeah, they're going to have unique classes for America. So America will get access to that. I would think they give them a tunneler or something for the Vietnamese, but maybe that's just a thing that they all can do. Recon spotter, sniper, infantry squad leader, rifleman, grenadier, engineer, medic specialist, and machine gunner. And then you got the command for the commander. And they can
It would
issue
be kind of
orders.
funny if they had a little reference to what was the name of that group? Magvisaw, something like that. The special forces group that was formed around this time.
Well, they were called
Or
SOGs or
proto
something,
special
right?
force.
Or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah,
wanna
proto
say it was
special forces, commandos, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I want to say it was Magvisaw or something like that.
Yep, where we'd send guys deep in enemy lines to fuck up shit behind
No,
us.
no, it was even better than that. It wasn't just enemy lines; it was technically neutral lines because the enemy was also there,
Yes.
also cheating.
Because they were in Cambodia and Laos, engaging us from the angle. That was one of the issue, and the issue is that politics got in the way. Just like when Cambodia collapsed and we didn't intervene in Cambodia's collapse, which led to Pol Pot seizing control. And ironically, later Vietnam was the one to go and actually, put down Pol Pot and basically set the Cambodians free from that crap. But the issue is that because America wasn't willing to take up the chalice of responsibility that it needed to, because the other powers that be were leaving the area, being the French, little cowardly bastards. Granted, the French Empire was
dragging us in.
the French Empire was trying to cling to its empire, but it was collapsing. And ultimately, the only way, if we're going to be involved in a Vietnam situation, and this is again theory crafting in a sense, is that the United States of America needed to intervene. And if we're gonna be there, then we have to be. And if we're gonna fight this war, then we got to fight it to win it. That means that if there's enemies operating from Cambodia and Cambodia can't push them out, then the war has bled over to Cambodia, and we need to push with all our righteous fury, and to push them out. And because you having United States of American presence there, like the rebels will only be able to get so much. The reality is the war needed to be fought brutally and hard, to actually win it. But the issue is it wasn't, and hence why it wasn't won. It's a similar thing if you look at Afghanistan or other types of conflicts where wars aren't being fought like they should be, and we're not taking and holding positions and then collapsing an entire regime and hunting and killing every basically like group, like in World War II, what we did with the Germans, right? Like we hunted them and we killed every last one of them, until they surrendered. Because we say, yeah, and when it came to certain positions like coastal fortifications where we didn't need to attack the enemy along
Starve them
France,
out.
we just besieged them and we moved on to the next position, but they couldn't break out of that location. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to fight a war, you need to fight a war, and you need to fight to kill. You need to kill your enemy, and you need to take positions, and you need to basically make it so that the enemy can't keep fighting.
I have a question, Gibbs.
Yeah, go for it.
So you said earlier the chalice of responsibility.
Yeah. Chalice of
Why a
responsibility.
chalice?
Why?
Why
Because
not, I don't know, something like a
I had a-
mantle?
I had
you
a
could say?
funny idea in my head about the chalice thing. I had a funny idea.
I think you should refer to
have
it
a
as the
question.
mantle.
Is there
She was like,
a
"Why
an
would you call it the
arbiter,
chalice?"
hypothetically, who would help guide this chalice?
You mean mantle? And yeah, I don't see why not. And then later on we can have something called the Endless show up that just come out of nowhere.
And that's what all the generals said. They all told McNamara that, but he said no. Yeah. I mean, if you know anything about like the Vietnam War and why it was lost, it was a war that shouldn't have been lost.
It was a war that once again proved politicians, people who have no knowledge or understanding of the military or war, should not be directing a military or war.
or campaign. Like we can't attack here because it could like hurt these people and that might like cause us to go to war with them. But the enemy's over
No,
there.
there were
The
also people that were
enemy's
just
over there.
concerned about their personal stuff.
If Cambodia
That's
and
starting to get
Laos,
to-
I know, but like in a strategic sense, if Cambodia and Laos cannot protect their own borders, and they're filled with German troops, then we're gonna have to go and we're gonna have to kill the Germans because the Germans are over there, right? Like that's like if you look at the analog of World War II, and how the principle of the doctrine of war was handled there, and then you apply that same doctrine here, there's really no reason. Like, for example, in the Pacific, we bypassed fortress islands and because we didn't need to attack them. We just left them there. There was no reason to take them. We could just island hop past them. That's why Japanese fortress doctrine for all the islands was kind of stupid. It was trying to retard our progress. Or Germany, like with their fortresses along the coast, like we didn't really need to take the garrison out. We just needed to encircle it and then move on to the next target. But the big point there was that we encircled that position and we took it, right? If Vietnam War was the same thing, like, oh, well, we can't like attack across Belgium's borders because the Belgians might get mad that we bomb some of their cities while we're attacking the Germans. So we're gonna have to go through the previous area of the Maginot against the Germans in the Rhine, and that's how we're gonna have to attack them. But sir, we need to go through those No, that's a bridge too far, Corporal. We're going through the Maginot. We're going through the Maginot. See the issue with that? It's stupid. It's stupid. But yeah. Silly things aside, right? That's why I don't know. It's an interesting period. I like this period in history because there's a lot of interesting things that happened. Multiple distinct games. Yeah, I read that. Yeah. But yeah, this looks like it could be an interesting game. Now, only time will tell how it holds up, right? Because Vietnam War is one of those things that a lot of people are pining for a game and set in the Vietnam War and have been for, as far as I can remember, forever. Because it's like a very iconic period in history that's been sort of romanticized as time has gone
What about
onwards.
the Korean War?
That is what we call the Forgotten War. And no one's
It is the
pining for
Forgotten
that
War.
because nobody fucking even knows it happened half the time. Nobody knows.
I want a Korean War. We need to show how better Korea was founded.
did you know that in the Korean War, we thought that our little carbines were... There was a rumor that our carbines were too ineffective. The bullets would actually not be able to penetrate the coats of the North Korean troops. Isn't it crazy to think about?
I
Absolutely
think this
silly.
was their commanders just actively and willfully lying to their troops.
That wasn't the commander lying. That was the rumor the troops had. Now, it was true that the, I think, combat effective range of those guns wasn't as good. But I can't remember 100%. I'm a little rusty when it comes to my Korean War knowledge. After all, it's called the Forgotten War for a reason, chat. It's called the Forgotten... It's like, what happened over there? What happened? What's crazy about that war is that it took the full might of China against our small, tiny forces that we had deployed over there to even try to push us back off the peninsula. And in the end, we started pushing back north again. It's like, that's wild to imagine.
I remember seeing an animated, like, little thing. Basically showing, it was like a top, like a view of the Korean peninsula. And it's just showing, like, you know, color coded the different zones, and it's showing, like, okay, North Korea actually pushes back, we're stuck to a harbor, and then, like, we push in from another point, and, like, it's just showing the back forth, and China comes in, it's... Yeah.
It was a
China
very back and forth
threw
war.
bodies into that war, and the casualties for the North Koreans and China were
We took 20 to
heavily
1.
suppressed how large the numbers
We
were.
took 20 to 1 losses. Sounds like a victory to me.
Yes, there's a pretty
I'm
good
pretty sure a
movie
lot
that
of the times
actually
it was
covers the
higher
war
than that.
from a
No, I
South
know.
Korean lens. It's called Taeguk GI, if I remember right. If you want to see like the feeling of it, and it's a very brothers war vibe, brother fighting brother kind of vibe, which sort of encapsulates what that civil war felt like for them. But yeah, it's really interesting. Ain't no way a thick winter coat stops 30-6, says Genghis Kek. Yeah, that it's just it was a rumor that was like that troops had because they were frustrated. Because the fighting was pretty brutal. Like, you think Vietnam War was brutal? The Korean War was nightmarish. Like hordes of Chinese and
Yeah, but they
North
almost
Koreans
pushed
just
us
like...
out initially until we broke through another spot.
Yep, because of MacArthur's offensive, where he basically did a naval landing in the north, and then managed to encircle large
If I
chunks of
remember
them.
it, though, that was pretty risky.
It was, but desperate times call for desperate measures, because I think it was called the Pusan Peninsula or something? Or was it? I can't remember. Either way, that defensive region we had set up around that harbor was looking like an evacuation that we were going to have and evacuate the entire area, like a Dunkirk situation. But yeah, pretty interesting war. Honestly, if hell let loose, if the Vietnam thing does well, and I hope it does, I would really think it would be cool if they actually did a hell let loose of fucking Korea. They could even call it like Hell Let Loose Forgotten War or something like that. Or name it after that.
Yeah, Forgotten War.
Because it was an interesting thing. The Pusan Perimeter. Yeah, thank you, Spider Pig.
They can call it Invisible War. Wait, that name's already been used.
Hold on a sec.
Jeffers are all sad on the Incheon landing. Yep. Busan was the only city left before the Americans landed outside of Seoul. Yeah. But yeah, so this game looks pretty interesting. We're probably going to check this out when it comes out. So if Chatfish would like to get on a thumbnail, there is slots available. This one is intended to be covered. I hope it's good. I don't know if it's going to have boots. I don't think these games generally do. But it should be fun. I just hope that this goes good. What? Chatfish,
Trying to see if I can find the thing I was talking about. No, I'm not finding it quickly.
Okay, well, let's move on. Trumpa, look. He's like, whoa.
Yeah, I saw this. It's nothing new.
So this isn't anything new, but Chatfish wanted to send this to me. So this is a reminder that Dune Awakening is working on private servers. This is the early iteration, by the way. But if you want to do the thing, the hyperlink is duneawakening.com self-hosted-servers. You can just Google it, honestly. And they have it on their website. So if you want to check it out, you can. It's a post. This is the early iteration of it. This is the janky one. So self-hosted servers are coming to Dune Awakening, and I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. If you
The
want,
initial thing is very
very involved with its setup, as you can see. I'll just slow it down so Chet can take a look at that. We have to allocate certain amounts of memory and stuff like that. But yeah, the proto version of self-hosted servers is available for people to monkey around with if they want to monkey around with this stuff. But you have to actually allocate memory and shit, and it's actually a little bit too involved for my puny brain at the moment until they streamline it and simplify it. But yeah.
I did find the little short of the Korean thing.
Well, either way, we don't need to just look at that. Let's go.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so moving on. Dune Awakening, private servers, good thing, capital G. There's really nothing more to say than that. Good thing, capital G, underscore, bold. This is a beautiful thing. Now, I do know that chat mentions that Stone Age says, wow, they will actually let you run your own server in the year of the Lord, 2026. I know they will.
So, you
Hold
do
up.
need to get a key.
Hold up a second. So, when it comes to that, what Stone Age is picking at is actually a bigger concept here. Yeah, there's a lot of games where self-hosted servers isn't really a thing anymore because it's kind of like they're trying to take control of it. This is why video game preservationists movements are always concerned about this stuff, because can you host your own dedicated, like, kit? For example, Helldivers 2. I love that game, but the developers are really stupid. Can I host my own dedicated galactic war with just my audience? No, I can't.
Should we talk about that mod?
We can. Go ahead and grab it. We'll talk about it.
I'll find it.
Actually, you know what?
I'll find the Twitter post about it.
This is a great way to segue into it. So, funnily enough, I bring this up, right? And a bunch of modders have actually found a way for Helldivers 2 to have privately hosted galactic wars with their own modifiers, multi-faction fighting, pretty much vehicle customizations, like modded units, like you can... There's even people talking about like converting into Star Wars and shit like that. And so, theoretically speaking, if modding is embraced by Arrowhead, you should be able to host your own Helldivers 2 servers, your own Galactic War. Because, like, yeah, like, what if we don't like the way the Galactic War is going? What if we don't like the way they're telling the story? It's not interesting. Why don't we just do it ourselves? If they're not willing to let us be the good guys and the heroes of the story, and the developers are arguing and fighting with the players, what if the players just simply tell the story we actually want to hear? Tell the story we're actually trying to make without them constantly interrupting it. Because when you make a game that has the developers involved, or the players involved, then you kind of forfeit your right to tell the story because, well, we're telling the story now. It's our story.
I did see a statement from the developers who are making this thing, basically making the comment how this isn't meant to replace the Galactic War map in the end. It's supposed to just be like a side thing and like maybe test out fun ideas and whatnot.
Yes. You also notice this has a new biome here because this is not a biome in the game.
That's a Boreal, because you like very tall trees and all that shit.
Yes. So this is really somebody playing on that actual modded thing. So it actually is functional. Here they've changed the planet to actually have snow on it.
Look, the mech has new things.
Yeah, it has a turret on top too.
Arm.
These things are functional. These things work.
This also has a flamethrower and the shotgun thing.
Also, modders have actually found a way to create custom mechs and custom vehicles with a vehicle editor.
The mech also has a little turret on its upper shoulder.
The one thing that the tweet talks about that I don't think is showcased in this clip, multi-faction battles. Is apparently one of the core things that they're working on as well.
It's pretty interesting.
But rebalanced weapons, customizable mechs, Effectively, all the shit the community has been asking for. Modders are now just like, well, we're making it. Now that said, while I'm excited for this, I wouldn't be surprised if Arrowhead does a cease and desist on it.
I would not be surprised, especially if it gets traction.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I think it's
Because-
incredibly important that the dialogue here shouldn't be to say that this game is, you know, how'd I put it? That like, oh, you know, because the
There's a
modders
reason-
themselves have asked players and people not to try to constantly go like, you know, fuck, use this as an example to fight Arrowhead, because by doing that,
yeah.
all they're gonna do is drive a wedge between them
It's
and
also
Arrowhead.
This is meant to be a thing
A
of like
proof
a
of
fun
concept.
thing, proof of concept, and like to test out wacky builds, ideas, and stuff, just to have fun. It's not meant to replace the core game.
Yeah,
that
it
developers
is why
themselves
they
have said.
specifically said this is not meant to replace. It's a side
Yes,
thing.
and they straight up said like, do not like at Arrowhead with this shit. Like, don't like
Don't say
use this as
like
to throw in
ammunition to
Arrowhead's
be like,
face.
you're incompetent. Like, this is actually a great way for modders to demonstrate interest in this. This is actually a beautiful thing to show that, hey, there is interest in this. Hey, people really like this stuff. Arrowhead can now look at this and notice that people like this stuff and then give us what we want. Wait, did the assault rifle have 60 rounds? I didn't notice when they were showing that off.
I don't think it did. I was half paying attention.
If it has 60, I...
No. Wait, no.
He didn't
No,
fill
it's
it.
32.
Didn't pull the charge back. Yeah, 32.
It's 32.
Damn. Thought they maybe fixed it.
They might. Who knows?
But yeah, out of respect for the modders, do not actually do that. Otherwise, you are essentially pissing on the modders for, you know, trying to do something right. So yeah, don't fucking be mean. Be adult. Be a nice person. You know. Let the modders actually not get fucking
At the
canceled.
absolute very least, when
Yeah.
Helldivers 2 servers die, this is proof that we can have our own custom stuff down the
We
road.
can do it, yes. So this is a good thing. What the modders have achieved here is absolutely spectacular. Seriously, hats off to the guys. They managed to do what was not possible. I would love to see them, because now we can start testing things that they wanted to do, but the developers didn't have time to. Let's test 5-player Helldivers. Let's see if it's possible to make, you know, multiple Helldive squads work on bigger maps or missions. Like,
I'm
let's
most
push
interested in multi-faction.
multi-faction fighting. Yeah, let's see this really push the bounds of what this game can do, because this could actually help Arrowhead massively, because these modders can do what Arrowhead can't. Arrowhead can't spare the resources and time to do it. That's fair. That's understandable. The modders can do it and can prove that it works.
I get what you're saying, Genghis, but if we do something like that, it'll just get the mod shut down.
Yes. Also, the modders explicitly asked not to do that. So out of respect for them, we're not going to.
But yes, at the end of the day, this does showcase that Arrowhead could
It is
definitely
possible.
do these things.
So what we should be actually pining for now is we should be pining for a discussion. Arrowhead's mentioned they want to have discussions about the game. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's talk about it, you know, as a community. Do you guys chat? Do you guys want more customizable mechs? Do you guys want multi-faction battles? All you got to do is say yes. Just type yes if that's something you're interested in. Yes, or like why you say yes, or no, why you're not interested in it. Because that's important. Talking about it. Yeah, I'd like there to be more Helldivers. I'd like squads to be like 5 people. I think that'd be great. I would like multi squads on missions, fighting bosses. Maybe the Hive Tyrant bosses. Maybe that has like 10 Helldivers dealing with it because it has so much health.
So there is one thing, and why that this should be a big argument for Arrowhead to do customization. I'm not a fan of the thing I'm about to say, but unlocking more customization, like more like unlocks for weapons and stuff, or mech customization, vehicle customization, that opens the door for them to then have war bonds just be purely customization unlocks for things. Which what they want to do is just do war bonds, so them adding customization just makes them more money down the road.
That's true.
So there's a financial incentive for them to do it.
Yeah, no, there genuinely is. Also, because people will buy the game, right? You don't need to do DLC, you don't need to do war bonds to get people to buy your game. You just need to keep making good updates and new people will come and buy the game. Every time there's a new event, people would pick up the game because their friends would tell them about it. But now that's not going to be the case because you're losing people. People's interest is going down. Helldivers 2's interest is going down. People are not interested in playing it anymore. I know most of my community doesn't want to even like play hardly anymore.
Some of the community can't even play it.
There was a time when I'd stream Helldivers 2 and it was almost guaranteed to be a good stream. Now if I stream it, it's guaranteed to lose me the day. Yep. I want you to let that sit there. If I stream Helldivers 2, I'm guaranteed to not do well as a streamer. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. That means that people are losing interest in the game. And I don't blame you at all. You're absolutely right. I blame Arrowhead for that. But I also know that, you know, it's up to them to fix their shit. That's why I think we should have a discussion about this mod, because this mod proves that what was conceivably, you know, something they didn't have time to do, well, there's some volunteers who proved that it is doable. Now it's time to discuss maybe implementation of these things. Maybe we should be pushing for these things. Because if this game is going to survive, life support and steady warbond releases with 2 to 3 new units at a time, anytime there's an event, is just not enough. Like, if you're making millions of dollars, then please put those millions of dollars, at least a portion of them, into the goddamn game. Because I already know that 90% of that money is not even seeing the game. It's not even going to the game. It's not even being invested into the game. There are people who can't even play Helldivers 2 anymore. Indio, Spider-Pig, Vulpus, Kasovic, I can name them, for God's sake. They can't play. I can't play with them anymore. Because you guys won't fix your game. Like, you've reached a point in which you are ultimately disappearing. And you will continue to slowly disappear. That doesn't mean that the game isn't fun. That doesn't mean you can't have fun with the game if it works for you. But it does mean that it's losing its pizzazz. And that's a sad thing to see. But yeah. Take care, Moogie. Have a good night. Also, chat, we are very close to yesterday's goal. We are very close. Keep up the good work. Excellent work, Chatfishes. Now, segueing away from Hell Spunkers 2 to
Spunkers.
some interesting stuff that's happening. So, Star Wars The Old Republic director James Olin discusses BioWare exit after EA killed New Republic reboot. I'm actually a highly played, completely useless person. It's a quote from him. So this isn't something that's too surprising, by the way. So I'm actually a highly paid, completely useless person. So yeah, this director, James Olin, right? Why he left BioWare after he had killed the New Republic reboot. The big thing is that there's a lot of people that work in BioWare or EA or various companies that are worth a lot of money, but EA just sits on and doesn't do anything. They don't make new things, right? Just like with the Dead Space reboot, right? Dead Space reboot sold about approximately 2 million copies, but was considered a disappointment by Electronic Arts executives because it didn't explode like Resident Evil did. The sad reality is some games are niches. Dead Space is a niche. It'll push maybe 2 million copies at best, right? That's a lot of copies. 2 million people is not like a couple of people. That's 2 million people, and that's not good enough for them. I wanted to let that sink in. 2 million people is not good enough. The entire armed forces of an entire, like, middle-sized nation plus several nations fully, geared up and ready for war is not good enough. Not good enough. Absolutely retarded thinking. A success is still a success. Even if said success isn't going to, be a smash, blowout, like fucking, like Halo, like World of Warcraft level success is not good enough. And the same is for Star Wars The Old Republic. Star Wars The Old Republic is still a success. It still pulls in a huge chunk of money every year. And the fact that they're not willing to give that game any reinvestment, they just pull money out of, right? We talked about with Arrowhead pulling money out of Helldivers 2. These companies just want to take the money and they don't want to put anything back into it. God fucking forbid, right? There was a time in which they did. You know, Dead Space 1 to Dead Space 2 was a story of that happening. Command and Conquer was a story of that happening, where they put resources into a game, and then it grew, and then they put more resources into it, and it grew again a little bit, but it wasn't enough for them.
It's
They're not willing
It's
to
like
invest in slow progress, right? Like, what, real quickly, Resident Evil 1 was kind of like one of those cases where it sort of exploded, right? It blew up and sort of like came out of nowhere and it got a huge traction. Resident Evil 2 did even better. And then Resident Evil 3 was kind of a, bit of a missed thing. But then they did a bunch of games. But it was a story about them building it up. It was one game after the other, after the other, after the other. And they kept building it up bigger and bigger until Resident Evil 4 was huge, And EA doesn't seem to get that. Like, you're not going to get the stars from one game. You're not going to get the stars from 2 games. You need to be consistently putting up better games.
So,
investing into the future.
Couple things. Resident Evil, like, they also seem to not take into account that Resident Evil came out when there wasn't any other real games. Like, it was kind of the first really of that type.
Yeah, it spearheaded the entire genre.
Like, it came out like in a time when there wasn't any other competition. So a game coming out when there's thousands and thousands of games that come out like every year, like, yeah, like Resident Evil came out when there was like 100 games. Like, of course it's gonna have a better blowout success because it's the only thing. But it also just is kind of baffling how not even just the idea of a franchise or like an IP, but the ability, like how you grow a franchise, like how you slowly build up things. That entire concept seems to just be completely gone from the industry now. It's make game. If it doesn't blow up, we
Abandon
move
it,
on to the next
move on
thing.
to
We
the next.
don't. It doesn't matter if it does well. It either has to blow up or we can it.
No,
There's no
it-
like, oh, we can build this up and then it becomes a extremely strong IP that will guaranteeably sell every time we make one. It's either it's completely blows up the market or we throw it away.
The issue is, how I see it, a lot of these really big companies are so bloated that they need the immediate cash rather than trying to build up their IPs. So if it's not an instant hit, fuck it, just go to the next one.
But
And
that's
they're all
also
trying to chase that.
That's also not only is that extremely short-sighted, it's also extremely stupid because now you're just pissing away all of the money,
And goodwill.
time, and all the investment you put into creating that thing, and you have to start all over again. So making a new product in that same thing now that you have created all these assets for is significantly cheaper than reinventing from zero again, from starting from scratch again. Like, it is such a piss poor idea.
No, it's because
Like,
everyone is trying to chase the golden goose that just keeps
They
giving.
want it to
they keep
be
trying to
like a
chase it.
blowout success. Because EA has made games where they're blowout successes, but the minute something requires some actual investment or isn't going to just be an instant, massive, like, explosive title, they fold and they run. And that's why EA can't have anything. They're not willing to accept a victory. They just don't want that. They want it to be.
It can't.
but it's like it's what boggles my mind is I completely understand like that's what they're going for and what they need it to be that, but it's also completely lacking any
Well, so here's the
like
thing, right?
forethought because
It doesn't need forethought. You got to think about the people. The people in charge aren't thinking about the future. They don't care about the future. Nor do they care about the future of the company. They have all right, this only matters for the next shareholder thing. I'm going to do whatever's going to look good for the board right now and the shareholders. And that
And then they're
way,
gonna bounce.
I'm going to bounce to the next thing. I'm going to do the same fucking thing there. And the next
but
person
my
comes
point
in.
being,
Next person comes in. They got to fix the mess. And then they're like, all right, I fixed the mess. Now that I fixed the mess and it looks good, I'm going to bounce to the next thing.
Yeah,
my
none
point
of the
being though, it actually just extremely piss poor
It is.
business strategy.
No, we're agreeing with you, Rapier.
The
That's what we're trying to say.
fundamental mistake of this whole thing is that having this system where it's only about the quarterlies and never about the future, it's a really bad thing. Shareholders, like, quarterlies
Unironically,
is only is like a really bad way to look at it because you're only linking in the short term. You're not thinking about the long term survivability.
Well, the
I-
problem is
I
publicly
kinda-
traded companies are legally required to do everything in their power to make
yes,
the
that's what I was going to say.
shareholder get more money.
Unironically, gaming going public was one of the worst things to happen to gaming.
Yes, and that's because it's our laws are set up to basically fuck the consumer and ultimately the
Also,
business.
yeah, Chatfish are pointing out it's literally illegal to think beyond 90 days out. Yeah, that is true. Even the CEOs don't want to do that because if they do that, they actually could get in huge trouble.
That's why when they're not publicly traded, we see like studios that
Actual,
do that
like,
and retain
stable
stuff like
They
hell,
invest,
FromSoft.
they do stuff with their
FromSoft
IPs.
who
Yeah.
actually invests in their own thing, like they're consistently just improving with like every iteration of their games because they're retaining people, they're investing back in.
Yes, this is why, like when I talked about Helldivers earlier, it was so important to talk about investing back into it. Yeah, you can go and you make the next game, but like, okay, is that going to be how you're always going to view games? Like, I'm just going to move on to the next game. I'm just going to, because that was one thing I remember when I got into game making that somebody told me where they said basically along the lines of like, ask yourself how many games you want to make before you die, or you're done. And it's like, do you want to make 100? Like, I want to make like 100 games, 100 games, and it's like, yeah, but were any of those games were any of those games good? Did you make one game that was worth it, or did you make hundreds of games that were bad and not worth it? And that's the real question here. And the answer I most find with most AAA things is, yeah, they've made tons of games. Were any of those games, were you proud of any of them? And the answer in most cases is no. We're like, yeah, part of it. And I was like, not really. That's what you mean. Not really. You're not really proud of it because you don't feel like what you did there was your best. Because you didn't do it your best. And you know that. And that's the sad reality. Nobody's proud of anything they make anymore in the AAA. And then when people get defensive, it's not that they're proud of it. Like when they're defensive about High Guard, not that they're proud of what they're working on. They're just so broken as people that they just wish that somebody would like the thing they made. But yet you've made another piece of slop. And that's sad. That's actually sad. Genuinely. Yeah. Well, what can you do except never go public
Make a good
ever?
game.
Well, it's not so simple. Making good game requires you not to have other people constantly meddling in your soup. Like here, you know what? Let's read this because this is actually pretty interesting what this guy has to say. So this is, by the way, from James Olin, the actual guy himself. So let's start here. I was told everybody I should never be the head of a studio because it'll kill me, Olin told PC Gamer, talking of his more recent departure from Archetype, and it nearly killed me. It was 6 years of nearly killing me. I was running on fumes, and it was hurting my health, and my personal life, and everything. I just needed to step away, he continued. As a creative, you care about everything so much. And then, as the head of the studio, you have to be cutting the baby in half all the time, and having people attack your vision constantly. I definitely wouldn't put myself in that situation again. That's not a healthy place to be. Let's see. Continue with this. Last time I was truly in love with my job, he claimed, and it was credited before Archetype Olin rose to the ranks quickly at Bioware. Last time I was truly in love with my job. Yeah, it's because the promotion really got to him. I was like, I hate massive multiplayer games, but all right, I'll do it. Olin said before realizing it would never be a never-ending project. Project where he frequently had to spend time simply ensuring big ego designers didn't kill each other. I'm just not someone who can manage hundreds and hundreds of people to go in a different direction, he said, of the old Republic's early days. Everyone wants to build a World of Warcraft in space, and it's my job to say no. We're making something different, and I wasn't able to do that. Olin ultimately realized he would move on after what sounds like a lengthy and extremely difficult pitch to Lucasfilm and EA for a full reboot of the game, which would see it renamed Star Wars: The New Republic. Olin spent half a year on a plan before getting the green light from former Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, as well as Star Wars creative boss Dave Filoni. He was like, if you set it a couple hundred years before the fall of the Republic, we can have a tie-in, Olhan recalled, of Filoni's eventual agreement, it's time. It's a time period that sounds not dissimilar to Lucasfilm's High Republic, which is again why he's pitching it, because he's trying to win them over. I remember I got super excited because the big challenge was Patrick Soderlund's former EA chief designer officer, who now heads up Arc Raiders, developer Embark Studios. Olhan said next, I think he's great, but hates Star Wars, The Old Republic. And I convinced him. It was one of the greatest accomplishments of my career. Unfortunately, everything then came crashing down. While Soderlund was sold, EA's board of directors was not. They remembered spending $300 million, Olhan said, referring to the Old Republic's high development costs as one of the most expensive games in history, by the way. Not the most expensive anymore, but one of the most expensive games ever developed. They're like, why the fuck are we going to spend a bunch more? That was the beginning of the end for me, he continued. The only way you can get through life is by having empathy for everybody, including people that are causing you pain. I was thinking of it through the lens of EA, and I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to win this. It just doesn't make sense to empower someone like me. If I was there, I wouldn't, so I gotta get out. This is just not for me. I would tell people I'm actually a highly paid, completely useless person. It's just that everyone thinks I'm super useful because of my reputation. No one seems to be able to tell except me. There's research that shows that when you just feel like you're not accomplishing anything, it's actually the biggest thing to bring about burnout. My wife was like, but you could have written it out. Don't lots of execs do that? And I'm like, I know, but they're not creatives. They enjoy the politics, and I don't blame them. But that's not what I like. Yeah, I can totally see. He this poor fucker is so like drained after this. Oh my god.
Especially with dealing with all the different frickin' personalities in EA. I can only imagine how many gray hairs he got just by having to deal with that.
Where you're trying to direct a game, everybody's wanting to pull it in a different direction. I know what that's like as a director when you have a vision for a game and then everybody's trying to put their fingers in the pie. Everyone will, and that's perfectly natural. But you have to be understanding on how to balance that. Like, the Mixers project is my baby, but he is dealing with something on a whole other level here, by the way. It's not just a few people. I have to deal with like 14 people. And
But
not even all
you also
14.
have to deal with the board of directors above you.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with that. Well, no, I kind of do. The Chatfish.
There's a board of Chatfish.
Yeah, the
the
board of-
bucket
the
of
board
no,
of the
no,
bucket.
but the board of directors.
I know, I'm
have
joking.
final
Move on.
say.
Move on. You're
It's a
being
joke.
autistic. No, shut up, Pino. Perfect. Now, yeah, so like the big thing, this poor fucker basically, he's dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of external pressure, and ultimately, you know, I don't necessarily agree that he wasn't the right man for the job. I think the reality is that I think he can do it. The issue is that there's so many people putting pressure on him that he can't do anything anymore. And it basically fatigue is built up for this guy. So much fatigue that the guy needs to take a break and has not actually gotten a break. Because the thing about big projects and long-term projects is the reality is you're going to be spending multiple years, and ultimately you need to be dedicating your life to the project. You need to understand that you need to dedicate your life to the project. That's the reality. You need to be in it to win it. And a lot of people that I work with and know don't understand that. And people won't. Because the only time someone's going to understand that is that they have to see the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is understanding that we're all in this together. If there's a ship, you are sailing this ship, and you need to be ready to fight for that ship. That means going above and beyond. You may be paid to do a job, but you're not just paid to do a job. Fuck off. Like, it's more than the money, and it always needs to be. And if you can't see that you need to go above and beyond what you're paid, then you'll never survive. Whether you're an indie, whether you're AAA, and it's a true story every case, right? Like, am I paid the amount I work for? No. Not in the slightest. Not in the fucking slightest. I make very little. But the reality is that you need to understand that is the nature of the beast. If you want to get something in life, to get a huge chunk of something, you need to be willing to invest into that thing. And investment isn't just returning what you're paid for. It's going above and beyond the call. And that's ultimately the reality. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to make it. Now, in his case, he wasn't going to make it, period. Not because he didn't have the strength of will to do it, but ultimately because there were people that were just going to prevent him from ever being able to do it. He just never stood a chance in this particular case. Could he have written it out like his wife had asked? No. Not in a million years. Because again, when you have people above you that are pushing in a certain direction, there's nothing you can do. You will never be able to get out of here. You will never be free. So yeah. He's just boned.
Yeah.
Drakenclaw says, I will argue, Kibbs. You defend him only because he is a game dev. No, not at all. He's not a game dev. He's a person. He may be a game developer, but he's a human being. If he would design cars, you would shit on him. Not really. I don't really see why, or why you're making a personal attack, but all right. I don't really see the value in somebody working to the bone to be spinning their tires in the mud for 1,000 years. Whether you're a manager for a Burger King, whether you're fucking making video games, whether you're, fucking working on some other special project or some code or something for something else, it really doesn't matter. Like, that's the reality.
Like, if his complaints were like
Well,
the
the-
usual drivel that like
So the reality
political
is he's a creative, right? So creatives are different. It's not necessarily the same to conflate them to a car person either, because you can have a creative work on cars. In fact, there are many that do when they design cars conceptually. But the difference here is that this guy has been stifled, right? He was in his zone and in his element when he was doing what his actual job was. But now he's not. He's out of his element. He got promoted out of his station. And he's feeling like a fish out of water, directing a project that has hundreds of millions of dollars invested into it, and he's got a lot of things to facilitate and meet. And ultimately, his baby is getting sliced up by everybody around him. There's really nothing you can do in this particular case. The reality is this guy just needs to get out of here. I don't know what Primac Pepe is talking about. I disagree, Kib. Many people have lives outside of their careers. I didn't say they didn't have lives outside of their careers.
I think Chad is talking past you.
I tell you, I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
The issue is, thank you. People are talking about the chat.
Dragonclaw goes out of his way to like launch an attack against me, and so I'm like, what? And now like other people are like saying like, I disagree. He has a life outside. Meanwhile, I'm talking about like, you got to focus on your mental health, and like you got to talk about like, maybe you shouldn't overwork, and like sometimes you got to go if a job's pushing your life too hard. And I'm like completely out of touch with what they're talking about entirely. So yeah, don't know why that's what you guys are talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, but
Speaking of EA,
we're talking about something completely different, and try to pay attention.
Did you guys see that Square Enix is laying off a bunch of people because the investors are mad? Now that they're talking about investors?
Square Enix laying off people? I mean, probably. Square Enix has been dropping the ball like a lot lately.
Yeah, apparently, like one of their investors got like a 100 or something slideshow to the meeting to complain, and like there were complaints about Forspoken and some other stuff in there. It's kind of funny.
listen, the executives can't be at fault, but it's the lower people that need to go.
Yeah,
It's all of them.
I mean,
Put them in
I
charge.
don't know Plague. I don't really follow Square Enix super well. I don't really care about most of their games. But I do know that the general consensus among people who enjoy the games they publish is rather negative, and has been highly negative for pretty much forever. Dragonclaw goes on to elaborate. My point was game devs get a lot more leniency than others. I don't really see how or what you're talking about.
I think I get what he's saying. It's mostly because the media, specifically games media,
we specifically as
heavily-
a channel cover video game development and games industry stuff. We don't give leniency towards car manufacturers because I don't cover car manufacturers. But neither have I not given leniency to car manufacturers. I ultimately don't cover car manufacturers. I don't see what.
Well, that was just an example. He was
I
only
know, but
specifically
like,
talking about car
Also,
manufacturers.
there's a thing, Chatfishes. I know that like we are kind of trained by media nowadays to dislike game devs and dislike like industry people, but you do have to understand there is the like people that we dislike that are the crazy ones, and there's like in every situation there's people that are normal there and they're seeing the situation go to hell and high water, and they're like, what do I do? Like this guy, for example,
this
if you
guy
see his
chose to just
complaints,
like basically
if
from what
if you
we
see his
read, but he ultimately just decides that he's just done. He's
yeah.
he's tried for years, and he's worked on this Old Republic game for years, and he has. And Old Republic is, if you've ever played the game, you know it's like a rocky road, right? Like it had highs, it had lows. It was a journey. There was all in all, I think Old Republic was a fun MMO. But well, no, I don't think it was a fun MMO, but I think it was a good Star Wars game that was actually not too bad. But yeah, so like it was one of those things where when I can't imagine what it's like to be in charge of like
I was
a MMO project with $300 million riding on it.
And also, like, if you notice about his complaints, Chatfish he's not complaining like, the consumers this, the consumers that,
He's
like,
not
oh,
even, yeah.
my
So
right wing. He's literally like complaining about
you know,
stuff that we all complain
I
about.
don't think that's what chat's talking about either. I think that's in a completely different direction.
The-
But yeah, no, he's nowhere has this guy actually gone out of his way to attack or even discuss things. In fact, his entire complaints were literally with the board and literally just mentioning that it was a struggle on the team because there were so many people pushing it to try to be more like World of Warcraft when he was trying to make the game have its own identity and avoid it from being like World of Warcraft. In fact, it's because of him that Star Wars The Old Republic is actually even remotely interesting and why I recommend people play it. It's because they didn't just make it World of Warcraft. That's what makes the game interesting. The parts that are the best parts of SWTOR are the parts that have nothing to do with World of Warcraft. And the weakest parts of SWTOR are the parts that tried to make it like World of Warcraft. Because he was right. If you copy World of Warcraft, then you're just making a worse or like weaker version of WoW. But if they tried to focus on the RPG and the story aspects and the parts that like that, those were the strengths of the game. It's what set the game above WoW. It's what actually gave the game a chance. And had they leaned into that harder, the game would have had a better chance. Ultimately. But yeah, this is, and if you weren't paying attention, because it seems like some Chatfish weren't, this is James Olin, the guy, the director of Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO. He's lamenting his grievances. And bear in mind, he's been, you know, with BioWare for like, what, 20 years? 22
Says
years
right
or so?
there, 22 years.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, he's been with BioWare for like a long time. 22 years is a long time, by the way. And he's been leading the Star Wars Old Republic since it launched, right? So, like, how long is that? How long ago was it that the Old Republic launched? Star Wars The Old Republic launched in 2011, over 10 years. And this project has kind of, unfortunately, no longer
It's
in a
stalled,
position.
if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's no longer in a good spot anymore. It's the old content is kind of strong. The new content is kind of weak, but they don't have any resources. So the new content is just kind of like, it's all right. It's
Unironically, and this isn't even every class, by the way, the story to level 50, overall, for any class, on average, is fine. After that, it just goes downhill, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and the thing about it, and bear in mind that BioWare is no longer involved with this anymore. Broadsword took over. BioWare got pushed off, actually. And so Broadsword is the one basically directing the MMO and all of its current content. And, like, to be honest, most of the content and the seasons, it's like cosmetics or, like, you know, little knickknacks, little tiny things. It's never anything particularly major. I mean, like, to show you how bad it is, it's usually tie-ins to modern Star Wars stuff because they don't have anything like a budget for new stuff. And that's like cover art for the new expansion, by the way, in which both the female characters look absolutely like old hags now. They used to look sexy and stuff, but they're also old characters, by the way. Timelines progressed. But yeah, they used to actually look attractive. And so yeah, it's one of those games that it's like it's just been ongoing for a long time. And perhaps it's been going on for too long. Is entirely the possibility here.
I think if he was allowed to make an actual game instead of an MMO, like he could make a good game because I don't like MMOs either.
Well, he didn't want to make an MMO. He never did. James Olin
he
said
literally said that.
explicitly that he didn't want to. He actually hated MMOs, but he was going to, do his best job. And he tried. He did. And the best thing is not only did he try, but he also tried not to just make it World of Warcraft. But again, over time, fatigue, build up, stress, constant fighting over everything, every design decision. Like, I, as a director for my own project, I can see why that ate away at him over time. Because like if you're constantly like, oh, I want this to be like this, or like this needs to look like this, and it's like, no, that shouldn't look like that. That doesn't look cool. That was like, oh, this, that, or whatever, right? Like it could be whatever. What? Oh, that was loud. And can you take care of that? Yeah, mute yourself, please. Thank you. But yeah, it's like, can you, like, it's one of those things like it eats away at you every day. Where if every time you write anything, it's a battle to even make that canon and your own fucking baby, that's hell. That eats away at you every day. Or it's like, all right, this is the lore for this, and it's like, no, it's not. That doesn't work that way, or this doesn't work that way. Because remember, you got to put yourself in this guy's shoe. Like, this is how this is gonna work. And like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Nope. It's not gonna be that. Nope, not gonna work that way. And like everybody's fighting and baiting at you all the time, every day, for fucking 365 days a year, for fucking 22 years around. No, not 22 years, because technically, well, actually, no, it was in development for longer. So probably approximately like 13 to 14 years, probably. That fucking eats away at you every single goddamn day. Because if he didn't want to make an MMO, why did he take the job? Well, he's a BioWare director. He has to take the job, or he has to lose his job. Like, you got to understand that it's not so simple. Like, if you have a family, you got to feed. You have bills you have to pay. A job's a job. If you just walk away from every time you get a job offering, like, what are you going to do? Like, what's he going to do? Does he have the ability to say no, Dragonclaw? The answer is no. Like, yeah, he can technically say no. No, I'm not going to do this. All right, you're fired. Get the fuck out.
Okay. He was just getting yes man to do the job. If he
all right, now he heads over next to, hey, like, here's my job application. Yeah, you said no to that project because EA told us, because everybody in the industry talks. Why should we fucking hire you? Go on, get. And then his wife's like, you can't pay the bills. Like, this isn't gonna work out.
I'm moving out and marrying Jeff now.
Yeah, like you like, it's such a naive fucking thing to say.
I think we have talked
Yes.
over this topic as much as we can. We should continue moving.
Yeah, we're gonna move on past this, because if you don't get it, you never will. But either way. Next subject. Subnautica 2 dev reveals early access roadmap, teases new region, new vehicle, and next chapter of the story. My God. I hate these developers. No kidding. I'm like, ooh, fucking scream.
Question.
What?
I've not watched any gameplay of Subnautica 2. Yes or no?
It's good.
Can I fabricate pew-pews?
No, you can't.
I want to remind Chad
He's like,
that Subnautica takes place
Only
in the natural selection universe.
only the alien species that's on the planet is allowed to use weapons.
Okay,
you can't even have a.
character I'm playing.
That planet might as well be Planet UK because you can't even have a knife in that
No,
planet.
no. So this all goes back to the original Subnautica thing. It does not matter. I was only curious if they continued it or not. So they're still being silly. Okay,
Yes,
that's all I need to know.
So, like, okay, none of that matters. We're getting back to the subject that actually matters. Thank you, for the love of God. Subnautica 2 is basically just a pretty good continuation and successor to Subnautica 1. It's a work in progress. I really enjoyed it. After playing it, there's some things that bother me, like with like the sprint thing, but they're mostly minor things, or like the upgrades and like how we have to find the upgrade locations so that people can like get the upgrades if you're doing co-op, which is kind of annoying. So you got to remember where they are. Otherwise, their toolkits are smaller, which is a bit of an oversight. But yeah, the game is good. If you like Subnautica 1, Subnautica 2 is going to be good. Now, if you got problems with like the developers, now here's something that brings up the interesting question, because some people do have problems. So, when it comes to weapons or weapons in the game or weapons in general, the developers aren't going to change their stance on that. There's also something that we need to discuss as well that the developers needs to be talked about. For instance, because of the Craft On drama, people are pretty happy about Unknown Worlds and their development and the dev team in general. Now, I will point out that this has not always been the case with Subnautica developers, because they haven't in the past been entirely super like cozy with their like player base. They've been kind of lectury, and they have fought with their player base before. And so, while there is like a what we call a honeymoon period going on right now, it is incredibly important that Unknown Worlds understands and respects the player base going forward, because they did make mistakes in the past, and it was only because of the player base being so loyal and waiting and patient that they're reaping the rewards and success right now. Only time will actually truly tell whether or not they're going to keep that going forward. Because again, in the past, when they were preachy with the below zero stuff, when they were preachy with the knife and gun stuff, when they were preachy with like everything else, when they were always talking down to the players, people didn't really appreciate that. But they made a good game, and that worked out. The issue is that kind of preachy sort of like, talk down attitude isn't going to work forever if they aren't going to deliver anything. So, they gotta be not doing that as much. And now they're starting with a clean slate because they are free of Craft On. So hopefully their actions are going to speak louder than words. And so far the actions are pretty good. The game's pretty solid, pretty positive. They're wanting to do early access because they need to, get some cash inflow. But also this will allow the developers to communicate with the players. There's a benefit to early access if they're going to actually make use of that early access. The benefit of this is that, again, player communication with developer communication. It allows for things to be, refined a bit more with the developer's vision and stuff like that. So hopefully it works out. Of those that played it among us, which is only Chumpus, did you have a good time with it, Chumpy? Chumpy Chump?
Yeah. I will say it does suffer from if you drop in and drop out of co-op, like you come back on later, because
Yes, that needs work.
yeah.
Yeah, because like for example, there will be like upgrades where we get biomods or like modifications for our suit. I'm not really sure what it is, but we get like upgrades where we can get more inventory space and stuff like that. But if Champa logs out and then comes back and then plays, he was super behind, and we don't remember the locations of those sites to show him where they are. It's rather difficult to get him caught up with the rest of us. They have to do some work, and they did say that the co-op mode's going to get improved as time goes on. So yeah, hopefully it will be. But yeah, it's gonna be one
So
of
I'm
those
seeing
things.
some stuff about the ULAW, which we should talk about for the game.
Yeah, now's the time.
It's being theorized because Craft On is scummy, that this ULAW is being put in, and it's a heavy hand by Craft On to try to sabotage the game because Craft On's pissy about losing so badly in court.
Yeah, the game also sold 2 million copies already.
Because
so,
Craft On, for travelers who don't
nuts.
know, Craft On basically tried to fire the team and then not pay them the bonus they were owed in their contract,
And then
while
didn't that
still
also
retaining rights of the game. Basically, they basically wanted to
they wanted to steal
fire
the
the
IP.
people left, steal the game and not pay them what they contractually are obligated to pay them. They lost that case and have been just kind of being dragged through court over because there's all kinds of
Devastating, yeah.
nonsense. Like the CEO who did all these things used AI for the court case, and it's
Oh,
just
that I remember hearing about. He used Chat GPT too. It's like, how can I do this thing? And it was just literally in his chat history.
yeah, how to basically get away with not having to pay the bonus that he's contractually obligated to pay.
I remember hearing about that. That's
But
that's
and now this EULA comes out for the game, which is one of the most egregious EULAs I've seen in a long while. which we can either go through the lore, or I found a thing that's just a wall of text explaining
Just abbreviate
someone
a couple key
overviewing it.
points. We don't need to go
Just
through the entirety.
Okay, so
TL
let me
Because
just
here, let me really quickly
let
nip
me
this in the
skim
bud.
through
So,
it.
a EULA is not necessarily enforceable in a court of law. But go ahead.
It's
So
not
specifically-
enforceable, especially if like the court is like, no, you're breaking other rules here. This is
So
all.
the reason people are saying this is craft on, who's pushing this, is because apparently a lot of the clauses specify to craft on. Like craft on can take away your account and access the game at any point for any reason. You are not allowed to modify the game in any way, otherwise you will lose right to even play the game.
That's got to be craft on.
You are not allowed to take any actions in game that go against social norms.
But whatever that means.
Oh,
you
in game.
are
Hold on. In game, when you press escape, there's a button to report unsavory behavior or something. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, you're playing with your friends. Are you going to report your friend?
There's no
void
random
your right
matchmaking in this game, by the way.
To play the game, you void your right to a class action lawsuit against them.
That is not enforceable.
No.
Is
That
one
is
of the funds.
That is
that's right there,
absolutely
yeah.
not enforceable.
Most of these terms continue to apply after termination of the contract, just as when uninstalling or refunding the game. So, yeah, if you agree to the EULA, you are forever
In
tied to
perpetuity,
it, according to them.
That's
Yeah.
also one of those things you can't enforce.
If
They're just
you have
trying
issue with the EULA, you have to submit it in writing to them.
just to make it as big a pain in the ass as possible. Yeah, that does sound like just someone that's really butt mad.
Now,
that's something
let's highlight something
Yeah.
real quickly here. Krafton is a Korean-based publisher, correct?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Honestly, I don't remember if it's Korean, but I know it's Asian.
Now, if you want to talk about
Ex-
cyberpunk dystopian corporations,
That's
one of
Asia's
them.
pretty bad.
Oh,
Mhm.
streaming the game is against EULA, by the way,
I
and
can
can get
tell
you in
honestly,
legal trouble with them.
I've seen people do that, so I don't know what they're
Yep.
doing.
Uploading any kind of content that gets you any kind of commercial gain in Subnautica is against
So
the EULA.
literally, YouTubers that are just streaming new game. I see.
We're
Yep, or
gonna
if you
get.
make
They're
a
going after
video-
us, Chad. Run!
It's one of those things. Maybe in Korea that might fly, but in the
Okay.
U.S., good fucking luck.
Apparently, there's also a bunch of clauses in the game that prohibit any behavior that would harm Krafton's name or reputation.
They're doing a fine job on their own. You don't need to help them.
Yeah, so apparently, if you play the game and then outside the game mention that you don't like Krafton or Krafton's kind of bad, that's yeah. You're breaking the EULA for the game, which then they'll take you to court over.
Yeah, this does definitely sound like a craft.
This is Krafton basically trying to fuck the game over as hard as they can. Yeah. That's what it. So that theory that this is Krafton trying to get revenge for losing their court case. Yeah,
I
that
don't
sounds
like
pretty
Korean devs,
logical.
Korean like companies too much. In the
It's
industry.
also one of those things. Like if it's like in the I forget the stupid clause where it's just like dirty hands or clean hand. It's like they're very obviously doing this to hurt them.
Yeah. Honestly, I would just dismiss the EULA outright because it mentions Krafton, and Krafton doesn't own Subnautica.
He is fat. Yes, he is eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Having a sour candy. I need a little snack. I haven't had breakfast yet. Come on. Throw me a bone here.
Hold on. According
Throw
to
me
this,
a
one of the
bone.
clauses, it's literally the Helldivers thing. By reading parts of the clauses, you are forfeiting your right to sue them.
That's not.
Yeah,
That's not enforceable.
that's cute. That's all I can say. That's cute.
By reading, you
this
lose
license
rights.
agreement, you were agreed to it.
That has some funny, like stupid, like if you walk in the house, you agree that all these things I can do. It's like that's not how that works.
You give up the right to have a judge or jury preside over any case you take with Krafton, so you have to represent yourself.
Yes. So this isn't necessarily a craft on thing, but companies like this, what they try to do is, okay, you cannot have any class action. You have to represent yourself, and it has to go to arbitration to make it as painful for you individually as possible, is what they try to do.
Mhm.
Even if that's not actually legally enforceable, they're trying to make it sound as scary as possible so you don't do anything.
Oh, anything
I
you
had-
upload or mod for the game or anything you upload Krafton owns now.
That reminds me of Blizzard with the Warcraft 3 thing. Remember? Warcraft 3 Reforged. Any fucking maps you guys make, we own. Because we're really mad about what happened with
Not
League
Dota
of
2.
or Dota or whatever. Yeah.
Or not, sorry, not Dota.
Oh,
2.
and they basically state in the EULA like they'll be harvesting all your personal data, but they won't sell it.
We're
Yeah,
harvesting
they
your
never
personal
sell it.
data, but we're not going to sell it. We wouldn't do that.
We'll only give you the give people the metadata,
So, yeah,
not the specific
I
data.
think this is my conspiracy because this isn't proven 100% without reasonable doubt. I think that it is 100% Krafton to
Yeah.
blame for this.
Yeah. Oh, also, if you break any of the EULA, you give up your right to a refund. I'm pretty sure Steam says no to that.
Steam will flat out ignore that.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's them because this sounds fucking retarded. And honestly, the only people I think that try stuff like this, like EA just rants it. EA does rancid shit all the time, but like
Well,
Korea will do like the most nut job thing because they don't like
It's
people don't have
because
rights.
of how their legal system works.
so if this, which it does seem to, if this is Krafton trying to basically harm Subnautica 2 with this EULA, they did somewhat succeed with it, given I haven't seen more people complaining and pointing out how ridiculous and bullshit the EULA is.
Yeah, hopefully they update the EULA. I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised that Unknown Worlds hasn't updated the EULA. Can they
So
not?
from what I understand, they still partially have to work with Krafton.
On this particular game.
Yeah, so Krafton I still think has some sway. Like specifically one of the things they will be working with Krafton is advertising, so like these videos, the trailers and stuff. Krafton is helping create, or supposedly helping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I was in charge of the CEO of Unknown Worlds, I would try to start distancing
If
the
they go
company
back
as
to work
fast
for
as
Krafton
possible.
on the next product, they are
That's
actually just brain
they-
dead.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, they're actually dumb if they do that.
Unknown Worlds should probably, honestly, you guys make enough money, just do it. Do it yourself. Don't fucking get a publisher. You have the opportunity. You've got so much financial success here that you can be an independent developer. Take it. Take it and take that freedom. Because that is a beautiful thing to have. I disagree with Unknown Worlds when it comes to their philosophy on this
Their
knife
writing
and guns.
is bad.
I don't really care for the writing, but I do
People
believe
play Subnautica for
they are
gameplay.
good game makers. And honestly, at the end of the day, regardless of whether I agree with them or not, I don't really care. That's just a minor thing. The more important thing is they should be continuing to pump out good and fun games. That's all that matters. And that's all that they should be doing. The fact that they're making good games is a good thing. So like
Unknown
they
Worlds-
just need to keep doing that.
They seem to have very good world builders and like the people who actually make the mechanics of the game.
level.
Yeah. Level designers and stuff like they seem to have very good them. The writers are just kind of the
Yeah,
writers
an
are
example of
remember
a
hearing
corporation,
synopsis,
Frederick Hennestad mentions, by you subscribing to Disney Plus, you won't be able to sue us and must go to arbitration in any legal matters, even us killing your wife with food she is
Yep,
allergic
that
to
happened.
after telling us Disney. Yeah.
Disney. Yeah.
Disney is a
They actually tried that.
rancid. Did they get away with it?
They
Remember that-
also have a policy at the parks where no one is allowed to die on the park. So if someone like has an accident and dies,
They
they
will
will
rush
not
them
get
to
reported until they
hospital.
move them off they will move them off the premises and then call
No,
for
no.
assistance.
Yeah,
basically, for them.
they are actually scummy.
Yeah, Disney can go
Because
straight
no one's
down.
allowed to have an accident or be injured on park. So if anything
Because of their
happens, you have to be moved
reputation.
off the premise before you can get any assistance.
You know, Disney's hell.
Remember, they're bad people.
Fuck Disney. Genuinely. Little Samson Fishy
It's a
says, I hear
shame, 'cause
S and
Disney
Box
used to
will
be-
allow people to make games on Source too easy. That wasn't on the list of games to cover for today, but I will pull it up because it's mostly not on the list because I kind of forgot about it. But yeah, that's actually an
So-
interesting thing. So hold on.
Because I've seen stuff like Descend It.
Here,
this
let's
game
let the
and-
trailer
yeah.
speak and then we can talk. Give the game the opportunity. Not a lot that it's a game. Well, yeah, I mean, it's gonna tell you about what it can do. But yeah, the thing is that it's allowing people to make games in Source 2 and publish them, which is actually pretty interesting. Can maybe encourage new indie games to be created.
Well, it's also an interesting idea because it means people will get used to using your engine.
Yes. So
So
the
the
big
main
thing is Box is
critiques-
kind of mixed right now because it's flooded with AI slop at the moment.
It
But
is. It's
the
also
director himself has already come out and said that he is not too concerned about it, mostly because he thinks that the nature of good content will filter itself out, meaning that bad stuff will sink to the bottom and good stuff will rise to the top. Now, that does mean that, he needs to probably make filters and probably, try to, I don't know, and make it so that AI content must be tagged, and that would probably eliminate that problem altogether.
I would say I can at least appreciate the overall attitude he has, where it's just like, look, we're not going to be heavy-handed with this because, like, good stuff, like you said, will obviously be the most popular.
now the critique I have for the game, because the idea of it is actually I actually like the idea of this thing. It's cool. It looks like it's just going to be an improvement on Gary's mod, which is like the sandboxy thing. The complaint I have is right now, from what I've seen, like people doing comparisons of this to Gary's mod, specifically like what you would normally do in Gary's mod. You load into that classic level, and then you just fuck around with the physics and stuff. Like the physics ragdoll stuff is very non-existent from stuff I was seeing.
Yeah, because this is more meant for... This isn't Gary's mod.
It's not.
It is...
But that's what people were expecting of it.
Yes, and the issue I do think is that the cover art is kind of harkening back to Gary's mod, like, oh, you're gonna mess around with physics and have fun with friends.
Yeah,
It's
it does have
not
that vibe.
really that. Like, you can do some stuff, but it's a bit different.
What it ultimately is, and what it seems to me now, looking at it a bit more, it seems to be quite literally a sandbox for the Source 2 engine for you to create things in. Not just
Yes.
a physics playground for you to mess around in like Gary's mod was.
Gary's mod was a sandbox using the Source engine, but built in around the principle of Half-Life. And so
And,
it had a
it was just
baseline to
kind of
pull
a
from.
little playground.
Yep, because you could mess around in Half-Life levels, you could load Half-Life stuff, and you could load Team Fortress levels because anything was made with Source, and so everything plugged into it seamlessly.
But this is
And
more like a development tool now.
yeah, so it's a bit different. So that's why I think it's going to be... It doesn't replace Gary's mod. Gary's mod is always going to be the million-plus positive fucking reviews, Jesus Christ. Game that it is.
We should play Trouble in Terrorist Town sometime.
Trouble in Chatfish Town. But yeah, Box is leaning into the fact that Gary's mod became a thing where people made custom games inside of it.
Yeah, it's more for... It's not meant to be its own little just game you mess around with. It's meant to be a design and your own like little actual game in it. Not just they fuck around for a bit.
Now we'll find
with the
out
physics.
because again, once the dust settles, it is entirely down to seeing how much it can retain its player base and how much it grows or doesn't grow. That's going to be something that we're going to find out. But yeah. So that's that. Time to move on to the next subject. Next up we have is Marathon reveals a new PvE mode and big plans for the future. So, as we all know,
Says their player base is dying.
Marathon's player base is dying. Marathon is not doing particularly well. And the issue is, why is it like some game we can say a player base is dying? Well, because if the player base is going down and the game is entirely multiplayer centric, the game is dying. Because the game cannot live without the player base. So adding a PvE mode will help the game be able to survive more. It would almost make the game interesting for me to want to play it. But the issue is that I really don't feel sold on the whole Marathon aesthetic, personally. But yeah, at least
This
the
is already one of
rebranding.
the articles. Okay.
So yeah, whether or not this works out, who knows? So we'll read a little bit more in case Chatfish care. In a massive new blog post, Bungie laid out its plans for the future of Marathon. Among the many details in it, arguably the biggest takeaway, content-wise, is the introduction of a brand new PvE mode being introduced in Season 2. It's an experimental mode that won't have player-on-player combat to instead emphasize working together to complete objectives, fight UESC bots, and make progress in a less chaotic and hostile environment. Additionally, there will be a mode that focuses on PvE, but with a light touch of PvP through though details are scarce on what exactly that means. For those fearing this means PvP will take a backseat from Marathon, that's not the case. Bungie teased that it is developing a purely PvP-focused mode as part of plans for more experimental modes in Marathon. Bungie noted its goal is to create a game that allows for nail-biting tension and sweaty gameplay, but also one that allows you to take a step back and chill. The aim is to ensure that there is a place to play for whatever mood you're in, rather than constant high-stakes, tense gameplay with big-time commitments. So again, it might be the case of, like what Paulie just said there, too little too late, where, yeah, the game is kind of, a little too late.
Dead.
Will PvE convince you to play Marathon? No, I don't really think so, personally.
You know what game is also getting a new PvE mode very soon? Wild Assault.
Don't care. But, yeah, so moving on. The Marathon thing is an interesting thing, to say the least. But I think, sadly, the ship has sailed. It's not to say that it's impossible for Marathon to do a 180 and turn around and become a great game all of a sudden out of the blue. I just sincerely doubt it, considering Bungie's track record the last decade has been one of abject disaster of deleting content and bad business practices and anti-player biases. So I just really don't have faith in one patch fixing a game at all. And honestly, it's not enough. Not for me anyways. Ultimately, the only way to really repair this is to simply just make another game and be faithful and not be disingenuous. Because the only reason why we're getting this to begin with is because you guys fucked up. And it's not because you were out of touch slightly. It's because you just simply didn't care. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of problems. But yeah. Nothing that can be done to salvage it. One thing quickly is we already kind of mentioned Helldivers 2, so this is kind of pointless to put this here. But I was going to mention the fact that it's continuing to trend downwards, and that trend has not shifted, is basically indicative of the game pretty much collapsing inwards on itself. And almost 1 million reviews, too, in total. Absolutely insane to think about. But yeah, Arrowhead is fumbling the biggest possible game of the decade. It probably will be remembered as one of the biggest games of the decade, because still nothing has come close to eclipsing it. But Arrowhead is actually fumbling it in the decade it was introduced. That is historic and honestly shocking, but I cannot say it's entirely surprising considering how they've been handling things lately. So we might be seeing, sadly, the most tragic speed run of a collapse of a franchise before it was actually able to build up properly. Or, they're going to turn around and listen and do what they say. Only time will tell. Ultimately, at this point, I'm not welding myself to a ship that's sinking faster than the Titanic. I'm just going to have to watch and hope to God that they fucking walk back all the bad they've done. Because I actually really like Helldivers 2, and it's kind of really pisses me off, because I would like to play this game again, but it's just not a good idea.
It does really feel like Helldivers 2 succeeded despite Arrowhead.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad. And I want them to make this game good, but I have my skepticisms and doubts, and we'll have to wait and see as things develop. But until we see a turnaround, we will probably be kind of putting a pin in it for the time being.
It's sad because it kind of was like, oh my god, this is the Halo of this generation that we're kind of building.
No, it was not that big.
Yeah,
Nothing can be
it's
that
never
big
going
again.
to be as big as the
I mean,
previous thing,
Helldivers
but,
2. So Helldivers 2 is about as close as Halo 3 was, because it has been culturally. The military had songs with it. It was in the process of becoming a cultural phenomenon, and it was. This is the closest we've ever gotten to Halo. Bino is actually right in this. It was everywhere for a moment.
Fortnite is closer.
Fortnite doesn't have the cultural relevance or impact.
It didn't really have, yeah.
Helldivers 2 did something in which only I've seen Halo and World of Warcraft ever do. And it was kind of a shocking moment. And it seems like that moment is now slipping. Already.
I think it already slipped, sadly.
No, it's not that it's gone completely. Because there is a point in which a game loses the ability to make a comeback. That point arrives when nobody cares anymore. But the issue is people still care about Helldivers 2. And so once that care finally evaporates from everyone, not just a couple people, but everyone, then it's too late. That's the same for Dune Awakening. Dune Awakening made a massive comeback and is currently is making in the process of making a massive comeback. Not has it done it entirely yet. But if that ice expansion and the private servers are to be believed, then the Dune Awakening will be back. And honestly, in my opinion, actually better than it was at launch. But we're going to have to wait and see, aren't we? Little Chatfish. The next bit of things I have to talk about is Europa Universalis 5 and Sid Meier's Civilization 7. And the reason we're going to be talking about these games is because it appears that grand strategy, or strategy games in general, are kind of running into a bit of a rut right now, in which they just kind of are continuing to flounder and not really make any discernible positive progress in these games, in the sense that people are kind of getting fed up, and there seems to be a lot of fatigue, and people are flocking back to previous games. Same goes for the new Sid Meier Civilization game. They're not being able to get traction like they used to. And I think people are tired of the DLC fatigue and also just the bad gameplay. I know people stomach the DLC stuff for so long. I even picked up the DLC with the intention of streaming it, but I think I might just refund it because I haven't actually booted it up since getting it, because I was going to stream it. But now I'm of the opinion that if there is fatigue here and nobody's actually interested, I actually don't really want to play it, to be honest with you. I actually don't really want to spend money on it. So yeah, I'm of that opinion. But yeah, when it comes to this stuff, it's one of those things where they gotta get their head out of their ass. And Sid Meier's Civilization, again, the Sid Meier's Civilization, one of the 4X games of just 4X games. It's the cream of the crop. It is the pinnacle, and it's just kind of not doing it. It hasn't recovered. And it's just mulling about.
This is the one where they tried to separate the
eras
leader from the Civ, right? Yeah, I did
Yep,
not
and
like
that too. The idea of a civilization transitioning into different types of civilizations through time progression is interesting. However, it's not that your civilization transitions into something reasonable, it just transitions into something unreasonable. I go from being a Germanic culture or a Greek
to
civilization to being a Mongol steppe tribe. It's uncanny and unbelievable.
And there's no continuation from what I remember hearing, between the ages. Everything basically gets left behind.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's it should be okay, if you be English, you can be Celtish, and then Celtish can then transfer into English because the Anglos come over, right? And then from there you can transfer into American
culture groups. Yeah, that could make sense.
Or
but
Australian or something.
That's not how it worked.
Because the cultures are tied, because we do have sort of a historical sort of father to each culture, right? And so Rome could technically father into modern day Germany in a way, but also father into modern day
or France.
Because it does make a degree of sense. But the issue is that no, it's not quite how that works. You can just transition into I'm Greek and now I'm Han Chinese. Oh, hello, Chatfish. What? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Or Indian, or any other absurd jumps of culture.
We are all the same, Chatfish.
Cultures are part of families. They have ones that are related, and they also have ones that aren't related to each other. Europa Universalis might be salvaged. It's again running into the classical early Paradox game of it's interesting, has a lot of cool ideas, but has no depth. It's shallow, and that shallowness fades away in time when expansions come out and are built on top of that. And so it's one of those things where
even worse when certain expansions practically become mandatory to quote unquote play the game.
Yeah.
Unironically, I'll use CK2 because that's the one I'm slightly more familiar with. The base game is free. There's a reason for that.
Because all of the actual mechanics are behind DLC.
Yes, it is. It's kind of disgusting when you look at how
CK3 is doing that too, but a lot of it's the mechanics in the base game. It's yeah, but all of the features of it are gutted. So now it's you've got camps now. Okay, what can I do in the camps? You can start a camp,
So
and all of the stuff in
nothing.
there is DLC that you can't do unless you have the DLC. It's like, okay. So I have a feature that if I do it without the DLC, just
It's
fucks me,
yes,
basically.
Yeah.
yes. It's very obvious that that's how at least Paradox is doing it, which is yeah.
Yeah,
But like
Paradox
Jim
is doing
said,
Paradox things, and they got to get their shit together. And there is also the upcoming Prison Architect
Peggy
2,
16.
but now it's under Paradox, and so it'll be very interesting to see how this changes. Also, the art style departure.
I was gonna say,
I
I
want to
kind of
say
hate that style
I
already.
kind of hate the new
yeah,
art style.
It's
I
3D now.
I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of the original art
16.
style, but I think it's better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think this has more character to it. Oh, that's terrible.
I hate it. I hate it so
The
much.
ears are bad.
It looks like that little monk from Shaolin Showdown, you know? Dang, look at the dodge.
But it might lend itself better in the sense that of multi-story buildings.
I would
Yeah,
just say
making it
the
3D means
biggest
that
thing I
there's
could
actual
see is
depth to it, which
yes.
could be interesting, but yeah, not huge on the on the artistic style of it.
We'll have to see.
Mechanically, it could just be a complete improvement for all we know in the future.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Barbie Dollhouse. It says fucking Stone Age. Damn. That's
I can
all.
kind of see it, and I hate that you said that.
Chatfish hate the visuals. Yeah. The visual artistic direction they've chosen. It's like they tried to keep it in line, but like they added more details to the face. And honestly, adding more details, like they could have made it 3D. They could have without losing the artistic design. So like notice how like these guys are a little too detailed, like the ears and stuff. Now compare that to this. Just lose the ears. Don't add any more detail. Keep the simple eye and mouth thing. Keep it kind of
You can
cartoonish.
you can
And then
still
just
have it
put
be
it on a
somewhat like that
3D.
style.
This just looks terrible.
Yeah, it's too much of a departure.
Visually. Now, that's not to say the video game might
Yeah.
not be good, because the video game could be spectacular, for all we
Like
know.
I said, it could actually be just a straight improvement across the board, mechanically.
Yeah. It's just, I think they made an artistic whoopsie in there, is what it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, the world itself is fine. It's just the characters.
Honestly, I do think it's a bit of a mistake, because I get, like, the value of 3D, but, like, if they did a 2.5D compromise where the sprites were still 2D, and then they could do the 3D environment, they could work with that.
What is with this trend now, Chatfish? Where a game comes
It's
out, it's
cheaper.
kind of
It's
beloved, but it's
way
got a bit of
cheaper.
issues, and then they release the second game, and now the second game's in 3D.
I don't
It's
know.
I have a
it's like
feeling
Some
part of
games,
it
some
is-
games benefit from this, but not all.
because
I
I'm just gonna
have a
list off.
feeling part of it is that the stuff that people are messing around with, the default is now no longer 2D, it's like 3D stuff.
Because we got this, there's Helldivers 2, there's Risk of Rain 2. There was a couple others that did it that also completely flopped. I can't remember because they completely flopped. But it's like it's just the trend. The second game is it's from 2D game to 3D.
Don't bring up 3D for my game chat, please. I don't want to have another debate on the team about that ever again, please.
Kibbs, don't worry. Don't worry. It's
I
the
don't
second
want to
game that
have
has to be
another debate.
Kibbs,
Don't worry,
Kibbs,
I
it's
will
fine. The
learn
first
3D.
game can be 2D. It's the second game that needs to be 3D.
Yeah, I will learn 2D, and then I'm going to make Celeste, adult Celeste, have the biggest bazongas, and like, yeah.
I think we're killing Bino.
Damn.
What has Bino really brought to the table here? Big thinkies.
Happiness. Chatfish
Happiness.
gets happy when Bian is here.
I don't think
Man,
that's true.
I
Jeffrey's gonna
removed
have
one
this from Bino
inch
here.
of dead skin from my ear today, and that's how it
Bean, I
treated.
don't
I'm
think
sad.
anybody cares.
Ding.
Damn. Well, damn yourself, boy. All right, we're gonna open up the things that you guys posted that I didn't look at, which fortunately is few and far in between.
Because I am the only one that posted stuff.
Yeah, you were. The rest of these deadbeats. I don't want excuses. I want results. Fuck. All right.
Want more stuff? Let me see. If
We
I
also
can
went
find-
over a few of the things I've posted already.
Yeah, I know. I opened the two that it wasn't. Project Trident shuts down by Amazon Game Studios after AI push. So yeah, more and more
I
studios
would just read aspects
shutdowns
of this.
and project cancellations are happening. And the most recent one, well, I haven't actually read this before, so I can't like abridge it. So I'm just gonna read it. Recent
could.
one is from Amazon Game Studios, reported by Eurogamer. News came out that the Project Trident shut down after AI push. So Project Trident, we know a little bit about this game because we've actually talked about it yesterday. But this game was supposed to be kind of like Shadow of the Colossus, but multiplayer. Which is like, okay, cool. You like play multiplayer game, you fight big fucking monsters. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Like that sounds kind of cool. Sort of like Monster Hunter a little bit, right?
Yeah,
But-
it does.
But the issue is that they were mandated by Amazon to add AI into the game, despite the fact that the development team didn't want to, but then they were forced to. And because they were forced to, the game started to meander and it like lost its sort of focus.
Well, it goes into that, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I'm abridging it because I actually remember we talked about this the other day, and it was one of those cases of like, this is why you can't have people meddling in other games, because if you meddle in games and you force AI into them, then the game's going to suffer, because the team didn't want that.
Gibbs is playing 5D chess. Terrestrial 2 will be 1D.
Just like what? Curious.
It's just a straight line across the
No,
screen.
no, no. It's
Welcome
even
to
better. It
Pong.
turns into a fucking text adventure.
We had to
But go
cut
ahead
the
and
art budget,
scroll.
boys. We had to cut the art budget.
Go ahead and scroll, Gibbs. Because yeah, it talks about Shadow of the Colossus game, but like cooperative. Then the AI mandated it. Yeah.
Yeah, AI
They just
mandating
really want
just
to see the
sounds
Colossus.
absolutely terrible.
Specifically, the AI had to have AI in the game, like you interacted with the AI in some way.
And the team was like, "What the fuck? How do we do this?"
So they completely switched the project. They were working on an entirely new thing, and then Amazon just laid off the entire game.
Fucked over the entire goddamn game. Genuinely, this is sad. This is sad for me because these guys were passionate. They were trying to make a game
The
that.
game they were working on sounded like it could have been really cool.
Yeah, I mean we don't know, but yeah, we'll never
But
know
the
now.
concept of it is really cool.
I know. Conceptually speaking, it sounds fantastic. It sounds like a game that everybody would want to give a shot, especially if you like Shadow of the Colossus. But it appears that Amazon hasn't just done that to this, by the way. So March of the Giants was a game that I'm looking for. Well, was looking forward to. I don't even know if I'm looking
We're
forward to.
pretty
it.
sure it's dead, unfortunately.
Now it's under Ubisoft. Ubisoft is imploding. This was under Amazon, and now like,
Under Amazon, if it was still under Amazon, it would 100% be dead.
and I
now,
played this
'cause
game,
Amazon-
and this game is like very close to being ready for like fully playable video game.
Yeah, mechanically, it's very cool.
And
Because
now
not
it's
just MOBA; it's actual death. It felt like there was.
It
Like,
had
actually gonna be
it
death
had
and stuff.
strategies. It was cool. Like when I found out that like the little dudes were actually very helpful because Chumba made a build where he would like have 1 billion of them, then he would parry your charge and do a mega charge on you. And that was like you actually had like some mechanics to it. It was not just point click.
Oh yeah, that was such a busted ability if you did it right.
yeah, this game is actually really cool, and it's
Yeah.
actually fucking makes me mauled.
So sadly, so the game actually had a pretty growing community. Like one of like they were getting lots of fan art coming. Like there was actually a pretty active and growing community. Debacles with Amazon gaming happened, so they got brought over to Ubisoft, which they were happy about because it's like, oh, a fellow like French team, like we'll be closer to them and like we can work a bit better because the team March of Giants team is in France. And since the move over to Ubisoft, there's been no news whatsoever. All of the threads on their Discord have been locked. No posts, nothing, complete radio silence. So, this game, which is effectively done, because
Yeah.
we played it,
We have played it. It's really good.
and if we played it, and that was supposed to be an alpha, Kibbs.
I know. It is damn near ready to be launched.
Yeah,
in my
Indio
opinion.
did a great thumbnail for it, and it was looking like okay.
It was
this
looking
game's-
like this game was gonna launch everything, and then all of a sudden, like Amazon made
The mer- they
a
mo-
fucking mind-numbingly painful decision to pull the plug on this. But then the game
well,
was
Amazon
saved
sold it.
because somebody was gonna acquire it, and then we're like, oh, thank God, the game's gonna be saved. And then we find out the person who fucking saved it is Ubisoft, and now it's like,
And
well,
now it's,
they're saving it
and
to
now Ubisoft's in the
liquidate it.
process of like merging and being. It's like, oh my god,
New boss.
this
Seems
game,
like you're
this-
in the middle of a
this
fire
game
and the
would
guy
just succeed
extends
on
the hand.
would like just succeed. It had a lot of hype around it. It had actually, especially because it was a closed playtest, and there was a lot of fucking people playing it. There was a lot of hype, a lot of excitement around it. It was getting lots of fans. Like there was already a big community building around it, and now it's gone. It's dead. If it comes out now, they're gonna have to rebuild everything, community-wise.
Yeah. This thing was on the precipice of being a new game with a relatively interesting thing. Is it a MOBA? Yeah. But what made this game special was that it wasn't just a MOBA. It
It also
was
had building. it
build.
had-
You could build stuff. You could call in units. You could buy units, and it was like focused around commanding units. It was an action strategy game that was actually pretty interesting, and it also had a
it
really
actually
novel
also had some world
concept.
building.
Yeah. It felt like it was a game with a vision. It wasn't like League of Legends where it's just garbage or Dota where it's just slop. It was like
Oh,
a
that's
game
a bit
with
mean.
No, it's not mean. It's true. Dota's slop. So is
You
League of
just hate
Legends.
Dota.
Both
I
is
hate
like-
both.
They're both garbage. Yeah.
This was a game, finally, a game that appealed to me, god damn it, and they fucking killed it. They fucking killed it.
His Kibbs, the mythical.
Hey,
modern
this was
audio.
World War One French. In the game, basically.
Yeah, what are you talking about? This is
Yeah, before
this
the
is
French were cringe.
this is
Yeah,
the
this was based French.
This is the most based French would ever be, where they would like fucking fight to the fucking tooth and nail for their country.
Yeah, like this game was basically effectively because especially when we were doing the test for it, the MOBA genre is really stagnant. And this would have taken off. I have absolutely no doubt if they'd have just released shortly after they did the test and all the hype.
So, can we get an F's in chat for the developers of March of the Giants team? Like, seriously,
Indio as Indio pointed out, he did a really good thumbnail for it, and chat I think even did.
pull it up.
Two
I'll
versions of
put it in
that
the stream
thumbnail.
room. I'll post it.
Yeah, chat fund like a sausage. Like there was multiple versions.
I
of
know. I
that.
want to play this game. It's so fun. And we're never gonna play it again. We're never gonna play it again. They're gonna fucking Ubisoft is gonna liquidate it. It's gonna never see the light of goddamn day.
Okay, well I can't show that one.
Or
that
worse,
version
it's
of
gonna
it.
see the light of day and it's gonna be fucking awful. It's gonna be genuinely terrible. Oh my god. Talk about a studio like I feel so bad for these guys because like first they're under Amazon Games, that sucks. But hey, they're making a pretty interesting game, and somehow Amazon isn't fucking them over yet. Turns out because they didn't care. Turns out because they did. Then Amazon pulls their plug on the resources, and then Ubisoft picks them up, and so you trade one devil for another.
See, I also like the other version of the thumbnail, but it is well, it's in the BH channel.
Well, I like it because it's got big tits on it. But yeah, I mean that's kind of a base reason.
There is another version.
Yeah,
not of an entirely
we were
different thumbnail that
totally
you can look at.
fucking prepared to do this as a stream. By the way, we had the thumbnail prepared. We were ready.
I'm still excited to play the game if it comes up, but I don't think it will.
My favorite thing is Kib video right there. Now this is out of date because when we covered this game, if you guys remember when we were covering it, I was genuinely shocked that Amazon Games had actually published or was publishing a game that actually was fun. I was like, holy shit, guys, this is actually fun. Unlike New World, where it was trash. And I know some people like New World, but
shit,
like,
Amazon Games is making something awesome.
Can't believe it. They're actually going to publish a good game, and Amazon's like, lol, we don't want to do that.
They're like, jokes on you.
Let me shoot my own foot off.
Oh my god. My favorite thing
Yeah,
is the
it
chatfish
is.
looking up with their little fat lips.
I like the other version where the chatfish are hanging from her.
That's good too.
A bit too saucy for YouTube though, Chad. But you can always check it out on the BH channel.
That's true. God damn it. I'm gonna mold. I hope that as Ubisoft collapse, Hooded Horse or somebody comes along and scoops up March of the Giants and gets them the resources to finish the game. Because it is, I kid you not, chat. It is, there's some placeholder stuff there, but it is very close to being like a game you could just pump out, put it on Steam, we can buy it, and then I'll, play it and stuff. Oh my god, please.
I tried to look at the forums for March of Giants on Steam. One of the more recent things, AI Amazon stops. Like, okay, buddy.
Wait, what did he say?
AI Amazon. It's someone just trying to bait Steam Awards. They didn't send clown medals.
Oh, gotcha.
No, they removed the clown. Because people are complaining
Yeah,
that,
it's
oh,
true.
I'm getting the clown.
People just make things, make rage bait posts to get clown medals because people care about the Steam point shop for some fucking reason.
I don't care about that. I just I'm just from
I care
annoyed
about
by.
it. I bought a bunch of.
Who cares about that crap? Whatever.
Yeah, because I bought some animated stickers that are very cringe and I sent you guys all the time on Steam messages.
I'm gonna poke around and see if there's any other March of Giants news. I highly doubt it, but I'm gonna just look around.
It's dead. It's dead.
It is. I can dream.
Oh.
It is on the Ubisoft page. It still has a page on Ubisoft.
Ubisoft still has a page to begin with.
It still exists.
See, speaking of Ubisoft, I wasn't gonna bring this game up, but we might as well while we're here. So we're gonna talk about a game called Anno 117, a game that I want to do well, but it's being published by Ubisoft, and it's being held back from being beautiful. My God, I want to pick this game up, but I refuse to. While it's not in a situation where it's good to be picked up, because Anno is so cool. But Ubislop is going to kill everything I like. Ubislop! They've rebranded Blue Byte into Ubisoft Mains. Terrible. It's Jover chat.
So...
Do you love that they do this, by the way? Like, here's the thumbnail of the game. Anno, Pax Romana. DLC, 1 available. What? See some ash. It's mostly negative. just like Ubisoft, it's turned into ash, my boys. That is incredibly funny.
I'm seeing a couple things from a month ago where people have spotted job listing postings for March of Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So, might not be dead, but that was a month
Turns
ago.
out the job posting is the guy that's going to burn all the servers down. It's like...
Well, so the thing is, I haven't
true.
lost all hope for Anno, chat. Anno might come back, but it's one of those, like, it's not worth picking up right now. It's in a bad way. And only time will tell. There's been Anno games like that in the past, by the way, where they've launched and they were weak, but then they got better over time. Because Blue Byte does usually do a good job. They are good game makers. But I feel like Blue Byte is unfortunately feeling the squeeze from Ubislop. And that means that it is not entirely likely that they'll recover this time, due to the situation. I like how you guys always say I have too much hope for things. Yet here I am looking at it with a leveled, in my opinion, a very leveled sense of things. Maybe you are all black-pilled. Ever think about that for 5 seconds? Ever think about that? Little fucking doomers. Oh my god.
Okay, so I found a thing
my
supposedly
God.
from the devs that was
But yeah, I ain't touching this till it gets fixed, because I don't want to pay 60 for a broken game.
in regards to March of Giants, apparently from the devs, the last real news from them was after the handoff of March of Giants to Ubisoft. So basically, they stated like that went through with no problems on their end. Their main focus in the next few months is going to be doing two things: building, integrating, testing, validating the core online services using Alpha Feedback from the game. Apparently, they're also going to be doing a complete overhaul of the map complete redesign. It sounds like.
Okay. I don't have an issue with
Um,
that.
They apparently they're taking feedback seriously. They're just
From
working
the
on it.
playtest we
It's
did?
also yes, it's also integrating back in. Apparently, so I think they were ex Ubisoft devs, so maybe they it sounds like some of them at least. So it's reintegrating back in with Ubisoft, so getting back up to speed with that. They're working on locking down a set date for the next public test, which may want to include the improvements. Most importantly, the team behind Montreal has not changed. It's still the same people in the same studio in Montreal. So it's
Yeah, the
just
studio just
they have to
transferred
reorganize
leadership.
the entire internal structure for working with their new publisher now. So they have to do that and to
See,
incorporate
that
and
is
completely
dangerous
rework
because
stuff.
Ubisoft is meddling in the internal structure of a studio.
Well, so is Amazon Games.
Yes, I know.
So hopefully it's less than Amazon Games would have
Both
been.
of those things are bad. Yeah, a publisher sometimes needs to meddle, right? Sometimes a publisher has to. I hate to say it, but sometimes they have to.
So,
But in the case of Ubisoft, my trust with Ubisoft, to be fucking blunt with you, is not particularly high. It's pretty low, and I think that's a valid thing to be because I feel like they're not really trustworthy. I feel like they're
the last news
bad company.
is effectively that they are more or less excited to be working with Ubisoft. Is just now getting back up to speed with Ubisoft and what Ubisoft basically just getting any kinks worked out with switching publishers and working on rebuilding aspects of the game and integrating testing and going through all the feedback from the alpha. And they even said it'll be months out before they do anything. So in this case, it is possible no news is good news because any news we hear at this point, like any voice news, could potentially be one of the studio's shut down. So the only news we have is that basically they're hard at work and the team is still the core team.
Yep. We'll find out though.
Mm-hmm.
Won't we, chumpa?
And honestly, them getting out of Amazon's is definitely for the best, given the whole thing with that Amazon was forcing their companies to do AI.
Next up, we have another game called not Survival.
Survive.
Deep Dish Dungeon.
Deep Dish does not sound like survival.
Retro. Rat just looking at you.
Alright, well, Semper's sold on this game, so is the rat here.
Okay, this looks kind of interesting.
I know what that big hunk of meat was. Cooked rat.
Damn.
A spelunking sort of dungeon based game.
Co-op dungeon dive.
Friend slop?
Yeah.
But at this point, what isn't friend swap?
The single player games?
No, they're also friend swap.
Damn. Your friends can watch you play them after all.
Exactly.
Let's see.
Oh, it has a demo.
You know what I find interesting? If you go back out to the Steam page for the game,
after the video,
the splash art of it is very reminiscent of Darkest Dungeon. And I think they are doing that a little bit intentionally.
I mean, maybe. Darkest Dungeons...
It just has hard lighting.
Darkest Dungeon also is heavily carried by the art style.
Actual game, it looks very different.
Ah, yes, just shove pie in face.
Do you also notice the walking animation?
It's beautiful. He's dead. You gotta let him go, Chatfish.
You never know, there could be a necromantic tome. I mean,
yes, I see what hands means with that logo. It is a little Darkest Dungeon-y with the text, the font.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good font, so.
Oh, no, I agree, it's a good font, and the gameplay is obviously very different.
My favorite part is him holding the rat. I'm not gonna lie.
Not only is it a rat, it is a fat rat.
Look at it. It's beautiful.
Adorable.
So, Chad, if we do have a thumbnail, I think we know what the thumbnail has to have.
Just rat.
But glad there's going to be a fight in the
Look at
Rex
his
chat
tiny
to
little
who is
fucking
going to
arms.
be
It's
the
like
Rex.
he's
It's gonna be
accepted his fucking fate.
It's gonna be Aerith holding a fat Beano about ready to be cooked.
No, not Beano though.
This one could definitely be
You
fun.
know,
I think so.
Oh, there was a game that I think chat might want you to play.
Yeah.
Let me find it quick. I just remembered it when we were looking at this. I'm gonna look it up quick.
Way better fast. Also, chat, we are very close to yesterday's goal. Keep up the good work. Soon we'll maybe stay alive a little bit longer. Who knows? No promises, though.
And Chatfish, this would be a great game. We could found now, so it's ready for Halloween time. I
What?
posted it.
Discord.
Oh, that game.
Idols of Ash. Like Idols of Ass. Got him. Oh, this doesn't look good. This looks creepy. This looks creepy.
You're just descending.
Yeah.
It's very hard to see.
Don't worry about the creepy crawlies. There's nothing there. That's a hallucination. It's not there.
Oh, that's not okay with me. Holy shit. Holy shit. No.
Listen, Kibs, it's fine.
No.
It's coming for you.
No, no,
He's
no,
the gigantic
no,
centipede.
I don't have to play it, so it's not my problem.
Oh my god. Nope, nope.
We'll have to fund it though, Chad, if you want this.
Yeah, it's quite upsetting. That at first I was like, oh, it's
Kibs
like a
got
little
away
bug or
with
something.
with last October not having many scary games. We need to
Yeah,
rectify that.
kids. He thought he got away with it, but I remember.
Oh,
Let's
that's pretty
fund
rancid.
this. We've already got Species Unknown funded, which will be fantastic. I got Beano. Beano can play that. And what we
Who's
learned
this
from
Beano
that
guy?
in the
My name is
Discord,
Albine.
Chatfish, is Albine is a goddamn coward.
He is.
Yeah, I don't really know if I want to play this. Chat, you can fund this, but
Well, because that's the point. You wouldn't want to play.
yeah, no, that is a no. That is a big no. Oh, that's just undulating. I don't like it.
So
Gigantic centipede.
once I get Sea and Thieves finished, chat, I think I'll start this one.
That's
Maybe Chatfish could be riding the centipede, chasing Kibs.
overwhelmingly positive because those are
Maybe
the
it could
people
be a
that were eating.
Chatfish centipede. They all knitted into each other, you know.
That'd be pretty horrifying. I don't want to
Kevin
see
Root the game.
No, hold on. That cavern was way too open to be a Kevin
Yeah.
room.
That didn't look like the Nutty Putty Cave.
I don't know,
You don't show
chat.
Kibbs white knuckle. I think that game would be more aggravating for Kibbs.
I don't know.
No, I can guarantee you the gameplay is way more aggravating.
I'm not talking about that, boy. Talking about what this fucking game. It's pretty gross.
Kibs is looking at us like, I don't wanna. I really don't wanna. Could you still love Kib if he was a giant centipede?
No.
Oh, at least you love me to begin with. Gay. He's like,
Damn, you're
To be
that
fair,
going
that
to
statement doesn't
close my
exclude
house.
that I hate you.
He's like, many
That is true.
means.
There's still Fatal Frame.
That wasn't funded.
No, chat would have to fund that.
Chat wouldn't.
There's
Chat
many
couldn't.
things chat can fund.
Now, unfortunately, that is the end of the Bunchcast, but it's now time to raid into the next stream. As we have a long day to go, it seems. We shall continue our Subnautica, I think. Yes, we shall. We'll see if we can beat Subnautica
Also,
1.
Rifford says Albine's choice.
Okay, give Chatfish a few minutes to get a snack or something. Probably.
If that's the
Ay, ay,
case, then
ay.
I will also mute myself to go get food.
All right,
'Cause I have
chat.
not.
Tush. Thank you for your generous donations. Very close to yesterday's goal. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you